Meanwhile, a heavily tattooed boss secretly plots with his subordinate in a bath. While other factions prepare to fight for the treasure, the Triad faction has unusually withdrawn their defenses. The subordinate is deeply puzzled by the situation. With rival factions deploying their top assassins, could the Triad faction really be giving up the prize at such a crucial moment? The boss sneers, stating that a hungry beast never leaves the table. It's just a sinister trick to let the lion and tiger exhaust each other before striking. A sharp gleam flashes in the boss's eyes. Since their enemies want to profit from chaos, they decide to throw a bear into the mix to claim ultimate victory. As night falls, a massive abyssal vortex has torn through downtown, spewing eerie purple energy that paints the night sky with an oppressive glow. At the edge of the ruins, top-tier martial artists have already gathered. Gripping their weapons, they stare intensely at the unsettling power below, not daring to act recklessly. However, the sight at the vortex center makes everyone gasp in horror. The once invincible genius is now ruthlessly impaled, a gruesome warning of the terrifying monster lurking below. At the edge of the abyss, various factions have already gathered. But before anyone makes a move, they are completely shocked to see a renowned martial arts genius impaled and hung in midair. This so-called once-in-a-millennium prodigy was instantly killed. Looking at his gruesome end, all the experts, including the bamboo hat-wearing Asura Buddha, suddenly feel a deep sense of dread. Facing the bottomless vortex, everyone harbors their own hidden agendas, too afraid to make the first move. The oppressive air is thick with danger, as the unknown entity below seems to be waiting for a slaughter feast. Just as the tension peaks, the silver-armored woman snaps. Bursting with blinding green energy, she fiercely warns the other competitors to stay out of her way, pushing them to the brink of a massive brawl. Seeing things about to spiral out of control, Asura Buddha quickly intervenes to cool things down. Pointing at the hanging corpse, he reminds everyone that if a genius like that was one shot, no one is safe. They all know that even at full strength, fighting the monster below is a gamble. Fighting among themselves now will only get them impaled. Thus, a silent agreement to pause the infighting begins to spread through the crowd. Facing the unknown threat below, Asura Buddha suggests teaming up. However, the silver-armored girl immediately shoots him down, refusing to let him reap the fruits of her labor. Breaking the stalemate, the hot-tempered purple-haired warrior drops a harsh warning. Without a second thought, she recklessly dives straight into the abyss. Following her down, the group is greeted by a massive energy vortex. At its core hides a terrifyingly holy yet extremely dangerous presence. Overwhelmed by the suffocating pressure of the mysterious figure, the top masters immediately drop into defensive combat stances, tense to the extreme. As the armored figure reveals itself, the air seems to freeze. Yet, our boy isn't intimidated by the devastating aura, calmly observing his opponent. Paralyzed by the nightmarish figure, some recall the dire warnings of their elders. If you ever encounter this legendary being, never even dare to raise your head. But our boy sees right through it. He notices the monster lacks any berserk desire, its mind acting like a blank slate. Realizing this, he silently clenches his fist. Standing before the armored stranger in the glowing vortex, our boy is completely unfazed. Seeing the target fully healed, he casually mentions it's the perfect time to get some answers. However, the oppressive aura from the stranger leaves his companions gasping for air. Struggling against the pressure, they're baffled by the chaotic energy radiating around them. The armored figure sits cross-legged in the vortex as his energy continues to spike. His companions suspect the central drive has overloaded, causing a violent state of inner demon possession. But our boy quickly sees through the phenomenon. He notices the stranger lacks the corrupted desires of true possession. Instead, his mind is as empty as a blank sheet of paper. Before they can react, the armored stranger completely loses control. A devastating, nuclear-level energy blast erupts from his body, terrifying everyone in its path. Just as disaster strikes, our boy steps up. He effortlessly tanks the apocalyptic blast with his bare hands, leaving his companions speechless and eager to uncover who is truly hiding under that armor. Facing the apocalyptic energy surge, our boy steps right in. With overwhelming strength, he stops the blast barehanded and snatches the attacker's helmet off, forcefully ending the deadly rampage. But when he sees the attacker's true face, our usually calm guy is completely stunned. Beneath the heavy armor hides a totally unfamiliar man wearing pink glasses with a strangely peaceful expression. Meanwhile, in a distant traditional pavilion, the blue-haired girl with an eye patch stands quietly before a mirror. As she casts a secret technique, pinkish-purple energy instantly surrounds her. When the light fades, the mirror reveals her fully grown, beautiful self. She excitedly admires her mature look, eager to show it off to that special someone in her heart. However, the empty room offers no response to her excitement. Her gaze dims, and slowly falls upon a childhood photo resting on the desk. In the photo, the dark-haired boy in the straw hat still smiles brightly. She slumps into her chair, staring blankly at the frame and softly whispering, asking where he has gone. Hot tears drop heavily onto the frame. No matter how perfect she makes herself, the boy who promised to return is still nowhere to be found, leaving her heartbroken and alone in endless longing. Back at the ruined battlefield, the chaotic energy finally dissipates as the crisis is resolved. Looking at the weakened man kneeling on the ground, our boy prepares to interrogate him about his true identity. Looking at the lifeless body engulfed in a strange blue light, our boy uses his scanner to assess the grim situation, hoping to find a way to save him. Adam bluntly delivers the harsh truth. The massive energy overload has completely fried the victim's brain, leaving nothing but empty primal instincts behind. But our boy refuses to give up. He argues that if instincts remain, memories must too. He asks how to remove the core, only to learn it's deeply rooted in the heart. "Won't ripping it out kill him? Is there no other way?" he asks, but Adam's answer is a cold no. After a brief silence, our guy makes up his mind. With no safe options left, our boy steps up and gently places his hand on the child's head. Beside him, Sarion looks on, ready to hear his final words. As inner energy surges through him, the dying child lets out a painful gasp. Our boy forces his consciousness awake, guiding him to dig deep for his most precious memories. To pull the kid back from the brink of death, our guy does the unthinkable. To Adam's absolute shock, he begins absorbing all the lethal negative energy directly into his own body. The mysterious figure places a corrupted hand on the young man's head. Shrouded in pulsing blue energy, his consciousness is forcefully pulled into a deep mental vortex with a single whisper. Surprisingly calm despite the overwhelming power, the young man's green eyes reflect the figure's silhouette as a long-sealed memory begins to quietly surface from his mind. The scene shifts to a sunny countryside. Inside the memory illusion, a blue-haired girl and a black-haired boy are wandering through the grass when a beautiful purple butterfly catches their attention. Armed with bug nets, the two kids enthusiastically chase the butterfly across the grassy hills. Their faces beam with pure joy, fully enjoying this carefree chase. Just as the butterfly lands on a twig, the girl sneaks up carefully, but the boy acts faster, snatching it right up and proudly showing off his little prize to her. Seeing her prey snatched away, the girl gets a bit upset. She tells him to let it go, proudly complaining that she could have caught it herself without his unneeded help. Faced with her sudden anger, the boy starts panicking. Like a kid caught making a mistake, he clumsily apologizes and gently asks if her feet hurt and if she needs a piggyback ride. Facing our boy's clueless look, Sahi stomps in frustration. She loudly protests that she's already a 20-year-old adult, and her height is just due to late growth plates, not because she's a kid. After dropping a harsh, "Don't look for me anymore," Sahi runs off without looking back. Watching her fading silhouette, our boy whispers her name as dusty memories suddenly flood his mind. In that suffocating memory, mysterious blue energy surges wildly. Our guy gently places his hand on Sahi's head, seemingly performing some kind of heavy and dangerous ritual. The memories flash by with a reflection in her eyes, revealing a deeply scratched silver helmet. Soon after, the vision is ruthlessly dragged back to a horrific, blood-soaked battlefield. On a wasteland littered with bodies, the heavily wounded commander kneels in blood. Seeing our boy approach unharmed, he widens his eyes in disbelief, bleakly stating that all his comrades have fallen. Staring at the blood-stained, broken helmet, the shattered commander refuses his title. He is deeply baffled by how our guy managed to remain completely unscathed through such a brutal massacre. "Were you hiding this whole time?" Faced with this resentful question, our boy simply keeps his head down. Without any excuses, he calmly admits to it with a single word: "Yes." Amidst the ruins of a bloody battlefield, the wounded commander questions his subordinate, wondering why a soldier who never hesitated for 6 years has suddenly lost their resolve. In response, the soldier silently places a blood-stained mechanical hand on a mysterious box, making it clear that this item is worth any betrayal. The commander warns that the central-level drive is beyond human control, yet the subordinate insists it is their only hope for genetic restructuring and evolution. With their bond finally shattered, the commander struggles to his feet, declaring that his duty forces him to stop this madness right here and now. Propping himself up with a blood-stained sword, the commander announces his sacred lineage, warning that he will kill anyone who dares to interfere with his mission. But just as tensions reach a breaking point, a sudden beam of light flashes through the air, piercing the commander's helmet and ending the standoff in an instant. Immediately after, a surge of violent energy erupts as the subordinate is consumed by purple veins and blinding light, screaming in agony as an eldritch transformation begins. Just as the dust settled, things took a dark turn. Strange purple veins erupted across the victim's face as the demon took hold, plunging them into a world of agonizing struggle. In a desperate move, he's pinned down while being urged to fight back the darkness. But the ancient, violent energy within isn't easily suppressed, erupting in a terrifying roar. The pent-up energy finally erupts, sending a massive pillar of light piercing through the city ruins. Even the watchful debt collector, Asura Buddha, looks on in genuine shock. As a purple vortex expands, two clashing powers collide violently in the sky. Despite the desperate cries to stop, the shockwaves of fate have already begun to ripple across the stars. After the storm, life goes on. Our boy keeps his cool, treating the crew to some hearty ramen. Despite the near-death chaos, nothing matters more to him right now than a hot meal. Times are tough on the ship, but to celebrate Robert's birthday, Sunja traded parts for drinks, and Seryong generously treated everyone to hot ramen. While Seryong suddenly complains about compromising her meal choice, a bowl of noodles is suddenly knocked to the floor, interrupting the cozy gathering. Seeing Robert's hand suddenly ignite with an eerie energy flame, the joyful birthday atmosphere on the ship instantly freezes. Meanwhile, on a barren alien world, a devastating beam of energy strikes the ground like a meteor, causing a massive explosion. As the dust clears, a bespectacled man kneels in agony. Corrupted by forbidden power, his face is already covered in demonic purple cracks. Our boy erupts with powerful aura, warning him to die with human dignity rather than yield. But the completely corrupted host just lunges like a wild beast. The dehumanized monster relentlessly attacks with a polearm. Shrouded in violent energy, the two clash fiercely across the wasteland. Roaring in pure madness, the runaway host unleashes a colossal vortex of chaotic blue energy, aiming to tear our guy to shreds. And the source of all this destruction is the forcefully open mysterious metal box. Its blinding light hints that an even greater crisis is just emerging. A tragic memory unfolds. Driven to claim the glowing mysterious box, Wurim mortally wounds his own mentor, watching him bleed out with deep regret. The dying mentor doesn't blame him, but begs him to walk away. He warns that the forbidden item will devour his soul and draw the world's wrath. But Wurim is too far gone. Obsessed with delivering it to a specific person, he gladly sells his soul and reaches for the forbidden power. The moment he touches it, terrifying power backfires. Screaming in agony as purple cracks spread, Wurim is completely corrupted into a mindless, destructive monster. Back in the present battlefield, the corrupted Wurim unleashes a massive shockwave. Like a runaway bomb, he charges forward with relentless, frenzied momentum. Devastating energies collide midair, creating a blinding explosion. Meanwhile, standing quietly by a distant window, Sehi watches the chaos unfold with a heavy heart. Just when the battle reaches a stalemate, a brilliant beam pierces the night sky. A figure plummets from above like a meteor, weapon drawn for impact. With a massive tremor, the silver-haired swordsman Adam makes a badass entrance. Landing heavily on one knee, the sheer force of his impact instantly pins down the rampaging enemy. Hearing the core is embedded in the boy's heart, our guy's face darkens. Getting it means he has to rip the heart out. To keep our boy's hands clean, Adam brings out a specialized extraction tool and volunteers to do the dirty work. But our boy refuses. To him, taking a life is a heavy burden that cannot be passed on. He must bear the karma himself. Resting his hand on the blade, he prepares to end the boy's suffering. He's willing to endure the painful backlash and carry the sins to hell in his place. Just as the final blow is about to land, Seryong recognizes the face on the ground. Eyes wide with shock, she screams at him to stop. Confused by the sudden interruption, our boy asks if she knows this dying kid. Stuttering, Seryong struggles to find the right words to explain. Looking at the frail Wurim, memories of Sehi flood Seryong's mind. Those tangled past ties just made this simple execution incredibly complicated. Our boy and Seryong quietly watch the unfolding memory. Before them lies the tragic history between Sehi and her childhood friend, Wurim. Ever since Wurim mysteriously vanished to seek power, the once cold Sehi changed completely, forcing smiles that looked more like desperate cries. When they finally reunited, Wurim was dying from the severe backlash of forbidden power. Seeing him in such a gruesome state left Sehi in utter despair. Despite warnings that Wurim's mind was completely gone, Sehi refused to give up. She tearfully begged him, hoping to awaken his remaining sanity. A miracle seemingly occurred. Hearing her heartbreaking plea, the mindless beast slowly reached out his hand, as if trying to touch Sehi's cheek. Just as their hands were about to meet, Seryong sensed the fatal danger and delivered a flying kick, forcefully interrupting this deadly reunion. Seeing Sahi trying to touch the mutated Wurim, Sarion quickly reaches out to stop her, warning about the deadly radiation. Yet Sahi murmurs, "He's still my Wurim." This absolute devotion leaves Sarion completely stunned. Even so, don't do anything stupid. Sarion anxiously blocks Sahi's path. But following Sahi's gaze, her childhood friend has now turned into a cowering, agonized monster, making it impossible for her to look away. Just at this heartbreaking moment, a massive demonic hand silently hovers right above Sahi's head. Seeing the impending tragedy, the bystanders can no longer watch. Our boy clenches his fists, ready to intervene in this doomed fate. With an ear-piercing roar, violent energies clash fiercely in midair. The massive impact instantly sends Sahi coughing up blood. Just as she desperately reaches out, a man in yellow shields her from the deadly pressure. This sudden twist leaves our boy and the crew wide-eyed. As a torn battle flag crashes to the ground, debris flies through the air. Amidst the dust, Sahi holds onto the man tightly, refusing to let go. Suddenly, the ground trembles as giant rocks rise like petals, forming a bizarre barrier that swallows the two completely. Shatter it. The shocked crew immediately unleashes powerful attacks, trying to blast the wall open. However, the barrier is far tougher than expected. It absorbs the barrage and unleashes a massive shockwave, forcing everyone into a defensive stance. As the giant rocks slowly crack open, everyone holds their breath for what comes next. A blinding energy beam strikes the rocky ground, forcing Sarion and Adam to brace against the shockwave. As the dust settles, a talisman bearing the name of the heavenly demon slowly burns away. Witnessing the devastating aftermath, our boy immediately recognizes the ancient Shaolin martial arts. The trio stands on the high ground, their eyes locked on the terrifying source of the commotion, Asura Buddha. Meanwhile, an eerie atmosphere fills the ruined Blackwater faction headquarters. Standing amidst ghostly green flames, the relentless monk calmly clasps his hands, chanting prayers over glowing energy lotuses. The massive hall is littered with charred corpses. Stepping over the gruesome remains, Asura Buddha glares coldly at the lone figure on the high throne, demanding to know who will settle this bloody debt. Completely unfazed by the deadly debt collector, the mysterious white-robed figure radiates a terrifying orange aura. He slowly rises from his seat, looking down at the slaughter with absolute indifference. Heavy footsteps echo through the empty hall. Just as Asura Buddha continues his questioning, a towering white-haired man in orange shades appears behind him like a ghost. Sensing the overwhelming pressure, Asura Buddha sharply turns around. Realizing he is face-to-face with the legendary Eastern Heaven Fist Emperor, even the relentless monk has to politely clasp his hands in greeting. When the monk tries to play dumb, our boy quickly loses his patience. He raises his hand, ready to force some straight answers out of him. A massive black rune crashes down, forcing the monk to his knees. The sheer weight of the aura cracks the very ground beneath him. Seeing him withstand the strike, our boy instantly recognizes the unique Shaolin technique. This young monk's skills remind him of an old acquaintance. For the sake of old times, he offers a way out. If the monk leaves behind the high-tier drive, he gets to walk away with his life. Yet, the monk just stands there frozen. Just as our guy wonders why he isn't running, the monk casually holds out his hand. Unbelievable, this guy is a hardcore debt collector. Completely ignoring the massive power gap, the monk strictly demands his 85,000 credits. Our boy is just dumbfounded by this suicidal greed. Meanwhile, the monk mocks his age and unleashes a blazing aura, fully prepared to fight to the death for his paycheck. Facing a dead end, the Straw Hat debt collector unleashes a rebound technique, throwing a flaming punch that triggers a massive explosion across the room. Unfazed by the chaos, our boy stands tall above the fiery blast, coldly mocking how the old man completely ruined his own guard dog. Just as our guy is about to finish the job, the heavily wounded collector reaches out to block him, stubbornly warning that their debt is still unpaid. Seeing the collector stubbornly pressing his hands together despite a shattered hat and a bleeding head, our boy is left speechless by this insane obsession with money. Even with a battered body, the debt collector dutifully reminds our boy of the 85,000 credit balance, making him curse the guy for being an absolute lunatic. The collector even twists the rules, declaring that since the original employer is already dead on the floor, our boy is officially the successor of the debt and must pay up. Completely out of patience with this nonsense, our boy mercilessly shatters the straw hat with a swift kick. Striking a fierce combat stance, he coldly dares the guy to keep talking. Even after being knocked down, the persistent debt collector monk refuses to give up. Driven by his obsession, a bizarre blue energy suddenly erupts from his hands. Recognizing the sinister aura, our boy immediately realizes the crazy monk is using a highly dangerous and forbidden dark art of Shaolin. The monk openly mocks righteous martial arts, confident that his forbidden technique can bypass our guy's legendary indestructible body and cause real damage. Our boy casually admits that the attack does sting a bit. However, that slight pain completely drains his patience, triggering an earth-shattering counterattack. Looking down at the twitching monk who still tries to speak, our guy's eyes turn cold. He offers no chance to breathe, answering directly with his fists. Heavy blows echo through the ruined zone. Our boy unleashes a storm of merciless fists upon his opponent, leaving nothing but devastation and splattered blood. With a blur of blinding speed, our boy delivers a devastating strike. The sturdy bamboo hat is completely shattered, leaving the monk collapsed in a pool of blood. As the dust settles, our boy stands over his defeated foe. Calmly adjusting his coat, he sighs and wonders why every monk he meets is always rushing to reach nirvana. The scene shifts to a dim factory where eerie green energy begins to flare. A man in orange sunglasses watches the pulsating light, suggesting a supernatural battle has just unfolded. The man crouches down, gripping a talisman burning with green flames. Recognizing the technique, he scoffs, realizing he's dealing with the long-lost arts of Chimanduanjia. Unimpressed by his opponent's last-ditch effort, he arrogantly bites down on the talisman. It's a clear show of dominance, signaling his intent to crush these dirty tricks once and for all. As the energy dissipates, only carnage remains. The once mighty Asura Buddha, known for his trademark bamboo steamer head, lies broken amidst the rubble, seemingly lifeless in a pool of blood. Seryong and her team finally arrive on the scene. Seeing Asura Buddha in such a state, Seryong's expression hardens. She knows that whoever did this must possess truly monstrous power. Our boy remains unusually calm, refusing to be fooled by appearances. While the guy looks finished, he keenly senses that a fragile thread of life still lingers within Asura Buddha. Determined to get answers, our boy questions the corpse, demanding to know where the kidnapped child was taken. For him, saving a life always takes priority over the battle itself. Just as he speaks, a glowing blue butterfly flutters up from the shattered steamer. The sight leaves everyone stunned, proving that even as a lingering soul, this relentless debtor isn't done yet. In the depths of a bleak memory, a glowing blue butterfly flutters delicately. Our boy gently catches it and presents it to Sahi. Sahi cautiously reaches out, letting the creature rest in her palms. Noticing her somber expression, our boy kneels down, softly asking if she doesn't like his little surprise. Watching the butterfly linger calmly near her cheek, Sahi murmurs her deep unease. The fact that it isn't flying away makes this beautiful moment feel completely unreal. Looking at the glowing runes before him, our boy realizes she's right. The constant burning pain in his chest has vanished, confirming that this is just a fleeting dream. He tenderly comforts her, saying they should be happy just to reunite. But Sahi breaks into tears, terrified of waking up and facing the endless pain of losing him again. Sitting quietly together beneath the dead tree, our boy tries to ease her heart. He confesses he never saw her as a child, always admiring her brilliant maturity. Touched by his heartfelt confession, Sahi is left completely speechless. With a warm smile, he reveals he brought a special gift that will soon help her grow up. The scene shifts to a past memory. Sahi watches helplessly as her childhood friend, Wurim, forcefully activates a massive energy array. Facing Wurim's maximum internal energy, the blonde man shows no panic, calmly assessing his opponent's combat power instead. But the power gap is absolute. With a massive blast, Wurim is sent flying, leaving Sahi screaming his name in pure despair. Back to reality, the persistent debt collector Asura Buddha, though beaten to a pulp, is still trembling in a pool of blood, demanding his 85,000 credits. Hearing this huge sum, Seryong completely freaks out. Our boy casually suggests paying him, but she admits that even selling the ship and their crew wouldn't cover it. Of course, the greedy girl makes sure to exclude herself from the for sale list. This selfish remark instantly triggers a furious reaction from her companion. Seeing them argue, our boy offers to put the debt on his tab. But even at death's door, the collector fiercely refuses, knowing all too well about our guy's infamous greedy demon reputation. Watching the poor guy next to her get brutally crushed, Seryong doesn't even flinch. She just coldly stares at the bloody scene unfolding before her. But a second later, an eerie red light illuminates the room. A massive Bagua ray suddenly envelopes the entire space, catching Seryong completely off guard. Meanwhile, under the night sky, the atmosphere grows tense. Just as our boy is having a standoff with Seryong, he suddenly notices something bizarre up ahead. Following his gaze, they spot a mysterious man in a white robe lifting a defeated swordsman by the throat, dangling him in the air like a ragdoll. The white-robed man ruthlessly mocks his opponent's weakness, stating that relying on a giant sword means nothing if you can't even wield it properly. Suddenly, the mechanical core on his chest glows brightly. Without hesitation, he reaches out and violently begins to extract the opponent's core drive. Just in the nick of time, Seryong dives from the sky with a fierce kick, yelling at him to let go. Meanwhile, our boy quietly watches the explosive clash unfold. A deafening explosion violently blasts our boy into the air. He tumbles helplessly before crashing hard into the dirt, completely overwhelmed by the massive impact. Covered in blood, he weakly reaches out, begging the enemy to let Woorim go. But the cold-blooded villain shows no mercy, ruthlessly pinning him to the ground with his boot. Right in the villain's hands is a pulsing, sparking mechanical heart. Woorim's very life core has now become nothing more than a twisted trophy. Witnessing this nightmare, the girl in red completely snaps. Screaming at the villain to get away, she unleashes a furious wave of energy straight at him. Instead of dodging, the villain casually summons a giant energy hand to meet the devastating strike head-on. The clash triggers an apocalyptic explosion, but the true despair is only just beginning. With a deafening roar, a colossal flaming fist crashes down from the sky. The devastating impact shatters the ground, blowing our boy back and forcing Seryong to brace herself. Just in the nick of time, our boy firmly presses his hand against Seryong's back. Channeling his internal energy directly into her, they create a massive barrier that completely deflects the apocalyptic explosion. The deadly blast is violently dispersed, raining down as harmless sparks. Seeing his ultimate attack so easily neutralized, the mysterious attacker is left completely dumbfounded. As the thick smoke clears, our boy and Seryong stand perfectly unharmed amidst the destruction, locking eyes with their assailant in a completely unbothered stance. The attacker's identity is finally revealed. It's the Eastern Heaven Fist Emperor, one of the galaxy's 5 supreme masters. Naturally, our boy's flawless energy transfer technique has fully piqued his interest. Curious, the Fist Emperor activates his tactical scanner to analyze our boy. However, the feedback leaves him utterly confused. The system detects absolutely no cybernetic energy drives in his body. The Emperor stares in pure disbelief. A completely unaugmented human pulling off top-tier internal martial arts? He finally realizes he's facing an absolute monster who has pushed his physical limits to an unimaginable realm. Faced with our boy out of nowhere, the arrogant sunglasses guy claims he'd love to beat him up, but lacks a good excuse. Seeing the dangerous device in his grip, our boy gives him a chance to walk away, but the guy just laughs and calls him crazy. Since talking isn't working, our guy grabs him by the coat, coldly stating that he's been dying for a reason to throw hands. That sharp glare and blatant provocation completely shatter the villain's ego, making him curse out loud in pure rage. Pushed past his breaking point, the villain erupts in a fiery aura, raising the unstable energy sphere as if ready to blow everything up. But the reckless power backfires instantly. Blood splatters as the sphere crushes his hand, leaving the onlookers in absolute shock. Refusing to back down, the lunatic charges forward with a blazing fist, forcing our boy to gracefully flip backward to dodge the assault. He easily dodged the first strike, but as our guy clenches his own fist, you know he's about to teach this fool a painful lesson. Facing the sudden, terrifying pressure, the sunglasses-wearing guy desperately tries to hold his ground. He bites down on his pipe, veins bulging on his face in extreme pain. A massive Bagua ray appears in midair. With heavy explosions, the muscular guy is sent flying helplessly. Seryong and her companion watch the overwhelming scene in silence. While our boy stands there casually amidst the apocalyptic array, the sunglasses guy is completely crushed by the pressure, his face turning red as his defenses crumble. The battle finally concludes with the arrogant muscular guy lying motionless on the grass. Seryong and the others remain silent, knowing the real trouble is just beginning. Under the dead tree, Sahi, disguised as Mot Jean, clings tightly to the upside-down figure. It's her beloved whom she risked everything to protect, her eyes now filled with pure despair. Seeing Sahi's heartbroken state, Seryong coldly but rationally states they must take her away, or she'll stay until her last breath. Our guy agrees, even if it means using force. But Sahi ignores them, refusing to let go of her beloved. Our boy walks up with his hands in his pockets and calmly gives a non-negotiable order. Step aside. With the battle paused, our boy gently lowers the battered body. He quietly steps aside, leaving them space for a final, heartbreaking goodbye. Suddenly, a glowing Bagua ray illuminates the area. A figure desperately channels ki into the injured person's back. The immense energy surge leaves Seryong and the others completely confused. A knowledgeable companion gasps. It's the lost legendary art, returned to Origine's state of absolute unity with nature. Even Seryong is in disbelief seeing this mythical technique performed right before their eyes. Amidst a roaring energy surge, the caster tries to force his own origin key to replace the injured's paralyzed blood flow. This desperate act defying life and death has everyone screaming to know his true identity. Lend my life, just so you can see this world one more time. As the light fades and the familiar face is revealed, our boy's stoic facade shatters. Tears falling, he trembles and calls out a name deeply buried in his past life, Wurim. With a fatal wound to his chest, Wurim uses his last breath to ask a heartbroken Sehi for one final favor, gently telling her not to cry. He tells her she looks much prettier when she smiles and asks her to stop hiding her beautiful eyes. Deeply moved, Sehi slowly removes her eye patch. Watching from afar, Saryon wonders if her eye was actually injured. Our boy casually explains that she only faked it to avoid looking weak. Seeing her beautiful, uncovered eyes, Wurim smiles brightly. He pulls her in for a final kiss, begging her to forget him as he finally passes away. A lonely grave now rests beneath a newly sprouting tree. So he silently pays her respects, while our boy and his crew stand quietly behind her. With that tragic chapter finally closed, the crew returns to their ship. Urged on by Saryon's impatient shouts, they take off toward their next cosmic adventure. Saryon looks exhausted, wanting nothing more than to leave this place. Meanwhile, our boy stands by the window, his thoughts drifting back to a time when he made a life-altering request to his master. In a quiet wilderness, he asks his master to take back the forbidden body reversal technique. Standing by a symbolic grave, he vows never to touch that cursed power again, no matter the cost. With tears in her eyes, Sehi reminds him that true strength is choosing restraint over power. She can't understand why he's being so cruel to himself, leaving the air heavy with sorrow. Back in the present, our boy gazes at the distant station in deep thought. The red ship cuts through the silent void of space, racing toward its destination as a new storm begins to brew. Elsewhere, Adam pushes open a massive door to find a scene of absolute carnage. The once grand hall is now littered with twisted red remains, with the culprit sitting calmly amidst the bloodbath. A bald man in a white suit sits casually among the ruins. Adam coldly calls out his cruelty, accusing him of sacrificing his own disciples just to vent his rage, showing a complete lack of humanity. Unfazed, the man scoffs at his fallen students as mere trash. He claims his fury is the key to his strength, embracing a level of cold-blooded cruelty that is truly chilling to witness. Watching the madman drown in his own rage, the mysterious woman simply replies, "You're mistaken." It seems the true debate over the nature of power has only just begun. The mysterious figure in the red robe doesn't rush to attack, but instead issues a chilling warning. He boldly claims his target, demanding the enemy back off. The man in sunglasses is instantly covered in cold sweat. The red-robed figure not only sees through his indestructible defense, but also pinpoints the fatal weak spot in his arm. The harsh truth is laid bare. The previous opponent intentionally spared his life. Sitting among the slaughtered monsters, the boss is left in a chilling silence. Meanwhile, the spaceship is zooming through the galaxy. Inside the cabin, our boy is wildly stuffing his face with roasted meat, trying to recover his lost energy. Saryon hopes to use his internal energy to fix the engine. However, our guy casually reveals he's completely drained and needs years to recover. Saryon is stunned. This completely sets Saryon off. Realizing they are now in massive debt to the terrifying and money-obsessed Asura Buddha, she loses her mind and screams in despair. On the other side, the accountant remains completely unfazed. His pen coldly glides over the paperwork, calculating the suffocating amount of debt they now owe. Meanwhile, the cold monk in the bamboo hat insists on transferring all his funds to Shaolin. Even when the teller advises him to say something, he stubbornly refuses, prioritizing the elders. On a snowy peak, two martial artists discuss a forgotten legend. Hearing that Li Makjin, the ancient celestial demon, has resurfaced after 2,000 years, one heavily suspects an enemy plot. His companion quickly points out that this secret was hidden even from their highest elders. In the blizzard, they finally realize the legendary sixth celestial demon might have truly returned. Facing the shocking news, the white-robed man gazes calmly into the snow. He coldly concludes that if the rumors are true, there are now 3 celestial demons walking the world. Meanwhile, on their drifting spaceship, our boy's crew faces a dire survival crisis. Sunja calmly announces that they are completely broke, leaving Saryon staring in absolute disbelief. With fuel running out and rations lasting only 4 more days, Saryon strokes her chin. She immediately schemes to use Robert's hard-earned wedding savings to get them out of this mess. Hearing this, Robert completely breaks down, screaming that she already forced him to blow his 10-year savings on a terrible investment. Realizing her mistake, a guilty Saryon awkwardly looks away. The crew is facing a massive survival crisis. While everyone is stressing out, our boy is busy devouring the last of their food, complaining that they're completely out of hot dogs. To get some food and fuel for these big eaters, Seryong hits the black market. She pulls out a stack of ancient supreme martial arts manuals from our boy and starts pitching them hard to an old merchant. The old man adjusts his monocle, sarcastically marveling at how priceless they must be. Thinking she's hooked him, Seryong smugly offers a special discount, only for him to casually toss the manual back on the table. The cunning merchant waves her off, claiming his small business can't handle such treasures. Panicking, Seryong instantly drops her price. She'll trade them all just for some ship fuel and expired hot dogs. Seeing him unfazed, Seryong pretends to pack up and leave with a bluff. Knowing he has the upper hand, the old man puffs his pipe and casually offers her a different job, picking up a client. The blazing devil being a lowly taxi driver? Seryong is about to explode until she hears the payment covers everything on her grocery list. In a split second, her eyes light up and she happily accepts. And just like that, reality forces them to take on this mysterious escort mission. But the destination they are heading to is none other than the renowned Hogwarts Galaxy Academy. While the ship cruises smoothly through space, Seryong suddenly freezes with a look of absolute shock, instantly catching her crew's attention. Seeing everyone's confusion, Sunja advises them to give her space, explaining that their captain is bracing herself to face a deep-rooted nightmare from her past. The ship soon lands on a blue planet. Looking at the magnificent palace before them, Robert immediately recognizes it as the famous Hogwarts Galaxy Academy. Adam marvels that only the absolute elite can afford this place. Seryong simply scoffs, joking that any poor soul still stuck in the dorms during vacation must be having a miserable life. Right on cue, Adam senses someone approaching. A pink-haired girl in a cheongsam appears above, questioning why these uninvited guests are trespassing during the school break. But before anyone can explain, a massive pillar of green energy suddenly erupts from the ground without warning, blasting the grand staircase to pieces. Landing gracefully amidst the falling debris, the girl's eyes turn icy. After that explosive entrance, she immediately assumes our boy's crew is just a bunch of ruthless space bandits. Amidst the ruins, Seryong stands her ground with her glowing sword drawn. Across from her, the pink-haired Juga, who he instantly recognizes her bitter rival. When questioned, Seryong bluntly states that drawing her sword wasn't for revenge. It's just pure instinct, like feeling the urge to crush a cockroach on sight. This fiery exchange leaves their companions completely stunned. Anxious, Sunja urges our boy to break up the fight before their captain gets hurt. However, our boy remains completely unfazed and doesn't make a move. Instead, his gaze is locked onto a mysterious figure watching them from a distant window. Back on the battlefield, Hui smirks and draws her own blade, noting that she also enjoys crushing cockroaches. Without another word, both women charge at each other, ready to clash. Just as Seryong and her rival are about to clash, their companions also draw their blades. Suddenly, a loud command to stop interrupts the fight, catching our fierce bounty hunter off guard. Everyone pauses as they recognize the man standing in the center, Namgung Cheon, the third young master of the Namgung family. His sudden intervention puts a temporary halt to the explosive brawl. Namgung Cheon stands by the window lost in thought, but a sudden turn of events catches him by surprise, his purple eyes widening in shock. Meanwhile, in a remote data space, a sinister plot against Seryong's crew is unfolding. The masterminds coldly exchange intel, having fully anticipated their arrival. It turns out this was all a carefully laid trap. Through holographic screens, the higher-ups confirm they've successfully lured the blazing devil right to their intended destination, the prestigious Interstellar Academy. With a swift hyperspace jump, our crew unknowingly steps right into the enemy's playground. Cut to the Academy's Grand Lounge, where the tension is still thick enough to cut with a knife. A poor mediator sweats profusely as he tries to clear up a misunderstanding, hoping to calm everyone down. But our fiery Seryong isn't having any of it, coldly stating her sword simply has a mind of its own. Not to be outdone, her pink-haired rival smirks and dares her to try, proving this feud is far from over. In the Academy lounge, two students are chilling. The blonde guy reveals that the pale guy who just walked by is actually the famous third son of the Namgung family, the Azure Storm. Hearing this, the silver-haired guy jumps up in excitement. After all, the third son is a prodigy who reached the Northern Galaxy Finals, and is rumored to even rival top-tier masters. The blonde guy looks completely speechless at his friend's overreaction. It turns out the silver-haired guy is just upset he missed a chance to take a picture and brag to his fiancée, who is a huge fan. Suddenly, a silent figure flashes by like a ghost, scaring the silver-haired guy half to death. It's an expressionless girl in a uniform who seems to be looking for something, muttering "not here" before walking away. Watching the girl walk away, the two guys are totally spooked. What shocks the silver-haired guy even more is that he senses no internal energy drive in her. She is a pure natural martial artist. Keep in mind, this elite academy only accepts monsters, where even kids have triple cycle drives installed. For an unmodified girl to roam freely here, she definitely hides a much deeper secret. Our boy is standing alone on the platform when a mysterious schoolgirl calls out from behind. She sharply points out that a pure natural human like him shouldn't be in this academy. Meanwhile, an impatient Sarion lounges on the sofa with her eyes closed, cutting straight to the chase. Enough talking, who are we supposed to take? Back on the platform, the girl with a striking purple right eye recognizes him from the window. She stares intently at our boy, trying to read his stoic face. Did you come to see me? Or do we know each other? Despite his flat denial, she remains puzzled. She admits that he gives off a bizarrely familiar vibe, almost like the father who abandoned her at birth. But she quickly adds that she's not someone to be pitied. If she ever had a father like that, she would have hunted him down and killed him herself. While our boy stays silent, the girl suddenly drops a wild proposition. Just in case, do you want to marry me? I'm good at everything and would make a great wife. Our boy rejects her without a second thought. Slightly annoyed by his bluntness, she turns to leave, warning him not to reject her so easily next time, or else she'll get really mad. Over in the main hall, Sunja is confronted by the pink-haired lady Jiggle Hui. Staring down the uninvited guests, Hui coldly reminds them that the academy is currently on vacation. Inside a grand Gothic hall, Sariong and Robert meet an old acquaintance. The pink-haired Jiggle Hui, now a teacher, complains bitterly about being forced to work overtime because of students staying on campus. Hearing this, Sariong relentlessly mocks the school for going downhill. Just as Hai is about to blow a fuse, Robert quickly steps in to bring the conversation back on track. It turns out their mission is to escort a student back home. Sariong is willing to take the job, but she demands 1,000 times the original commission. Seeing Sariong's arrogant attitude, Hai angrily slams the table. Robert helplessly plays the peacemaker, advising her to endure it for the sake of their 10-year friendship. It's been 13 years, 7 months, and 16 days. Hai corrects him through gritted teeth. Amidst their bickering, a lonely figure in a wheelchair appears in front of a high window. Sariong and Robert step forward. Robert quietly introduces the student they are supposed to escort, a frail man relying heavily on a facial breathing apparatus just to stay alive. As their footsteps echo in the vast hall, Robert's tone grows heavy. This escort target is completely paralyzed, unable to breathe on his own, and has nearly lost his eyesight. Sariong asks around about their mysterious client. The guy bought his way into the academy with a massive donation, and his sudden family recall makes this escort mission highly suspicious. Sitting in the wheelchair is Sama, the fragile heir of the Stein family. Once the outsiders leave, he drops his guard and asks his attendant about the red-haired bounty hunter. The purple-eyed attendant sees right through him, pointing out his obvious interest. Sama merely mocks himself, claiming there's no light left in his lifeless eyes. Kneeling respectfully, the attendant asks what exactly drew him to Sariong. The heir's answer is chilling. He is absolutely fascinated by the visible pain radiating from her. Sama coldly remarks that her screams would be beautiful. Knowing his prophetic powers, the attendant nervously asks what he saw, only to receive a grim, single-word reply, death. His apocalyptic vision flashes, with our boy's rare surprise, and a looming demon. What's even more concerning is how the seemingly innocent martial artist, Waisoha, is tied into this nightmare. While the attendant softly whispers to him, Sama remains deep in thought. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, a grand golden palace emerges, signaling the start of our boy's next dangerous adventure. The scene shifts to Sariong lounging on a sofa. Opposite her, a man in a gray hat pours hot tea while confirming their escort mission. Sariong takes a sip, clearly unimpressed by the flavor. After some brief banter about the past, she cuts to the chase about their actual target. With nothing left to do at school, Sariong decides to join the mission. The man immediately tenses up, dreading that her bitter rival, Shuga Hui, might tag along. Taking a slow sip of his tea, the man reassures her not to worry. One of Shuga Hui's own pupils is still back at the dorms. Meanwhile, thick steam fills a shower room elsewhere. The pink-haired Shuga Hui stands under the running water, letting it wash away her exhaustion. She punches the wall, furious about someone returning from the dead. Suddenly sensing a strange presence, she opens her eyes wide and demands to know who's there. Through the dense mist, a black-haired girl in a school uniform slowly emerges. Her purple eyes stare back in an eerie, deadpan silence. Back in the lounge, Sarion angrily declares she'd love it if her rival tagged along so she could behead her. But suddenly, something catches her completely off guard. Sarion is caught off guard when these uninvited guests show up at the door, boldly demanding to hitch a ride back home like they own the place. Sarion is speechless at their sarcastic teasing about her rival. Meanwhile, our boy stands quietly in the hallway, simply watching the awkward drama unfold like an outsider. The ship finally takes off, but Juga Hui and Wai Soha face a new nightmare. They are completely dumbfounded, staring at a cramped room that looks exactly like a junkyard. Sunja explains with a straight face that this first-class cabin was specially prepared by the captain. This blatant trolling instantly makes Juga Hui explode with absolute rage. Unlike the furious Juga Hui, Wai Soha remains surprisingly calm. She casually mentions that she actually likes the place and suggests it just needs a little cleaning. When asked where she is going, Soha drops a hilarious bombshell. She is stepping out so Juga Hui can clean in peace. The absolute audacity leaves her completely stunned. Inside the ship, Sunja calmly warns everyone to stay put until they arrive, as there's a crazy woman with a sword on the loose. Right on cue, a loud roar from outside terrifies Juga Hui. Seeing the sturdy metal door about to buckle under explosive energy, they scramble to open it before it gets completely obliterated. Seeing Sunja unbothered, her companion can't help but ask if she's scared. Sunja calmly explains that the woman has always been crazy, but now she's completely lost control. She strictly warns everyone to avoid making eye contact at all costs if they cross paths, as the woman is far more terrifying than usual right now. As the ship speeds through deep space, the scene shifts. Sarion, the dangerous figure everyone is avoiding, stands by the window with her arms crossed, radiating pure frustration. Watching her fuming back, our boy silently lowers his gaze. His mind suddenly drifts to a sunny academy, picturing carefree students running happily. The peaceful memory starkly contrasts with the fiery bounty hunter before him. Looking at Sarion, our boy feels a surge of nostalgia, silently thinking to himself that her temper hasn't changed a bit after all these years. Meanwhile, Sarion runs into a childhood acquaintance. Unfazed by his friendly greeting, she bluntly calls him out for being just as egocentric as he was back then. Smiling, the young man reveals he now has someone to protect. His tone sharpens as he warns Sarion to back off, threatening dire consequences if she ever raises her sword against Juga Hui again. He casually suggests they pretend to be strangers, but the hot-tempered Sarion won't accept being ordered around. With her red eyes glowing, she coldly asks what happens if she refuses. The young man slowly opens his eyes, his piercing purple gaze radiating absolute pressure. Firmly declaring that no one touches what's his, he walks away, leaving her standing alone in the silent hallway. The perspective shifts to our boy Mok Jin, who is casually devouring a plate of fried sausages. Sitting across from him is Sama Stein, the clairvoyant heir, staring intently at him. Sama tries to peer into our guy's depths, only to be terrified by a void of complete darkness. Unbothered, Mok Jin tells him to eat up, though the frail heir bitterly replies that feeding a dying man is just a pointless waste. The guy in the wheelchair tries to test our boy with his telekinesis, but our boy completely ignores it, calmly slicing his food while sausages float all around him. Recalling the moment, the man confesses to Soha that his powerful telekinesis was completely useless. Our guy didn't even blink, acting as if nothing happened at all. The flying sausages finally land safely on the plate. Unbothered by the test, our boy just tells him to stop playing with food and not to overthink things. When Soha questions our guy's identity, the man admits he can't see through him at all. Surprisingly, our boy's casual attitude somehow brought him an unexpected sense of peace. However, Soha mercilessly shatters his illusion. Crossing her arms, she coldly reminds the young master not to fool himself, as death is still waiting for him. Following Soha's gaze, a massive gas giant hangs quietly in the deep universe. This oppressive sight silently announces that a huge crisis is approaching the city above the clouds. As the scene shifts, a new storm is brewing. Alongside our boy and Sarion, several mysterious figures step into view. The real threat hidden in the dark has finally surfaced. Outside the fog-covered abandoned space terminal, a group pushes their paralyzed young master forward. Meanwhile, on the ship hovering above, our fiery girl and her crew are analyzing the facility's data. Logically, this place should have been completely abandoned 700 years ago. Yet bizarrely, its automated systems are not only perfectly intact, but also overflowing with energy. Compared to this loaded facility, our girl is furious over being broke. Just as she angrily tries to call her client for the overdue payment, she's told that all communication networks have been entirely cut off. Back in the heavy fog, the blind bodyguard also senses the abnormal blocking barrier. He immediately raises his hand, carefully detecting the hidden threats in the dark. Accompanied by a heavy mechanical rumble, the massive silhouette of a defense turret emerges from the thick mist. His companions instantly sense the danger, freezing the atmosphere. Leaving them no time to react, several deadly energy beams tear through the corridor, blasting straight towards them with devastating destructive power. Ear-piercing alarms shatter the silence. Before anyone can react, a sudden, massive explosion mercilessly engulfs the entire area. Watching the monitor from the ship, Seryong and the crew break out in a cold sweat. Emerging from the thick smoke are massive, antique-heavy armored vehicles. The crew immediately recognizes them as illegal weapons that should have been scrapped. Giving them no time to breathe, the tanks open fire, turning the ground into a sea of flames. Caught in this overwhelming barrage, our boy is suspended in midair with zero room to maneuver, watching the massive rotating turrets lock right onto him. Fierce energy beams slam directly into him. The terrifying shockwave tears the ground apart like a nuke, instantly swallowing Mach Jin in blinding fire and flying debris. Seeing this, the crew in the control room panics. 1 or 2 old tanks might be manageable, but the radar data brings everyone to deep despair. The scanner lights up with a deadly swarm of red dots. This isn't just an ambush. They are completely surrounded by a full-blown army of steel. However, as the smoke clears, our boy stands entirely unscathed. Facing these roaring mechanical behemoths tearing up everything in their path, he doesn't even bat an eye. Massive mechanical structures rain down like meteors, triggering a chain of brutal explosions. While our boy watches the doomsday scenario calmly, the rest of the crew is completely caught off guard. Despite the barrage of tracking missiles filling the sky, young Master Stein remains terrifyingly calm. Thanks to his foresight, he knows exactly that his death isn't happening today. As if on cue, the deadly missiles suddenly self-destruct in midair, painting the sky with fiery explosions. Back in the control room, Seryong and Robert are left staring at the screens in pure disbelief. Just as Sunja confirms the system's malfunction, an even more brutal rain of energy beams obliterates the entire area into a chaotic wasteland. As the crew braces for the next wave, a figure wielding a golden cane slowly emerges from the thick mist. Hearing the grinding sound of gears, they quickly realize they are facing a heavily modified cyborg. Introducing himself as the terminal's operations officer Gunther, the cyborg delivers a chilling ultimatum, arrogantly warning everyone to get off his private property. Provoked by the arrogant threat, the pink-haired girl instantly draws her glowing sword, ready to scrap the tin can. But the blind swordsman calmly holds her back. After all, the real threat has just begun to surface. The group pushes Sama Stein forward in his wheelchair, trying to clarify what they hope is just a simple misunderstanding about their arrival and the prior notification. Hearing the name, Gunther the cyborg supervisor is visibly shaken. He kneels before the boy, his mechanical hand trembling as he finally confirms Sama's identity in person. For 700 long years, Gunther has waited in the silence of this station. Finally, the long-awaited moment has arrived, ending his centuries of isolation and duty. Meanwhile, Seryong is navigating the wreckage when she runs into her rival, Suga Hui, who immediately starts mocking her for still wandering around and picking up trash. Our girl Seryong isn't having any of it. She fires back that she's not leaving until the employer pays every last cent of the balance they still owe. Ignoring Suga Hui's insults, Seryong urges Sunja to connect to the systems immediately. They need to gain control of the interface before things get even more complicated. While the two women continue their bickering in the hallway, Suga Hui claims she's getting hives just being near Seryong, who remains focused on the shifting situation. Suddenly, Seryong realizes something is very wrong. Where did the bald kid in the wheelchair go? And more importantly, what happened to that mysterious golden skeleton from before? Deep within the gloomy base, a cyborg in uniform kneels reverently before a man in a wheelchair. He humbly begs his master for one final order, the permission to end his endless life. Meanwhile, Seryong and Sunja are busy hacking into the terminal network. The hot-tempered Seryong vents about the jerk who abandoned them here, urging Sunja to demand their payment. But after breaking into the central system, Sunja notices something chilling. The data reveals that this seemingly operational terminal has zero records of any departing ships. Cutting back to the cyborg, the man in the wheelchair coldly denies his death wish. This heartless rejection plunges the cyborg into absolute despair, causing his mechanical body to spark dangerously. A new crisis quietly descends as the scene shifts to the ruins of a cyberpunk-style floating city. Robert can't help but complain that the eerie atmosphere feels like a cheap horror movie set. Our boy Lee Mach Jin remains as calm as ever, silently feeling an abnormal heartbeat in his chest. Up ahead, Robert seems to notice something off and raises his hand to signal Mach Jean to stop. As they carefully explore, Robert suddenly points at the empty wall and mutters the word food out of nowhere. A second later, even he is confused by his own words, completely unaware of the bizarre threat lurking in the dark. Our boy is just wandering the corridor looking for food, but suddenly bumps into a strange cyborg. The air instantly goes dead silent as the two stare each other down. Meanwhile, in the control room, Sunja pulls up the terminal's classified files. Records show that 16 operational staff were left behind when this place was abandoned 700 years ago. Seryong frowns, assuming they all just died of old age in this wasteland. But Sunja solemnly shakes her head, hinting that things aren't that simple. Staring at the warnings on the screen, Sunja is shocked to find that everyone has a death record except one. The operations chief, Gunther, is somehow still alive. The scene cuts to the 700-year-old chief kneeling on the ground, surrounded by eerie electric arcs. Driven mad by the long wait, he even chopped off his own rotting limbs. He ripped out his decaying organs, turning himself into a cyborg monster with only a brain left. Broken by loneliness, he begs the man in the wheelchair for commands. Sunja shudders at the gruesome medical records displaying his horrifying organ transplants and mechanical modifications. A stitched-together monster who would do anything to survive is already lurking in the shadows. Looking at the shocking holographic data, everyone is stunned. To survive, the villain ruthlessly replaced his entire body with cold machinery. While the crew questions the extreme body modification, Robert bluntly states it was just a desperate attempt to survive, instantly sparking criticism for his lack of empathy. Our boy stays silently listening. Just as they sigh at such a cruel fate, another mystery surfaces. Why did they specifically demand this paralyzed boy be brought here? Sunja quickly pulls up the data, revealing that the mastermind behind this terminal is the wealthiest family in the universe, holding a monopoly on advanced technology. The biggest shock drops when they learn the founder's surname is Stein. Everyone suddenly realizes this frail boy is actually part of the ultra-rich family. But reality is bitterly ironic. The boy calmly explains that because of his broken body, his family doesn't even consider him human, let alone grant him any authority. This shared misery deeply resonates with the heavily modified villain. In the face of a cruel destiny, both realize they don't even have the freedom to choose death. Shugahui realizes why Soha has vanished, leaving her in complete shock. The atmosphere in the cabin turns tense as everyone begins searching for the missing girl. Elsewhere, the man in the wheelchair offers his damaged body as a final gift. Gunther Reznov solemnly accepts the command as his new reason to keep surviving. Leaning on his cane, Gunther slowly walks away, leaving the old man behind. Each heavy step echoes like a completed ritual of passing the torch. Panicking, Shugahui demands to check the cameras for Waisoha. However, Sunja remains perfectly still, staring blankly at her and making the situation incredibly awkward. Feeling unnerved, Shugahui finally snaps. To her surprise, Sunja talks back with zero respect, leaving the high-class lady completely stunned by the android sass. Sunja calmly explains she was only mirroring her tone. This flawless AI logic leaves the arrogant Shugahui speechless and utterly frustrated. Furious, Shugahui complains to Seryong about Sunja's behavior. Seryong steps up to defend her, declaring that Sunja is an essential and well-raised family member. On the other side, Seryong decisively takes charge, offering to search for the missing girl herself while ordering the others to hold the fort. Before heading out, Seryong can't resist giving Sunja some head pats, completely melting over how adorable our favorite cyborg is. Meanwhile, our boy is casually strolling through the foggy ruins in his flip-flops, only to be stopped by the seemingly ordinary schoolgirl, Soha. Soha tries to strike up a conversation, but our guy only cares about one thing: sausages. Hearing she has none, he just walks right past her without a second thought. Ignored, Soha tries to test him by pointing out his heavenly demon-like footsteps. Without even looking back, our boy casually exposes her hidden chilling aura in return. As he keeps walking, our boy casually advises her to hide her impressive jade demon mastery better, so she doesn't attract unwanted trouble at her age. Exposed, Soha immediately goes on the offensive, causing their auras to violently clash. Realizing how unfathomable this man is, she demands to know his true identity. But instead of matching her tension, our boy just turns around with a bewildered look and fires the exact same question right back at her, bringing the serious standoff to a dead halt. Searching anxiously, Hai calls out for Soha. But as she steps into the next room, the horrifying sight stops her dead in her tracks. The floor is completely covered with twisted, drained corpses. Staring at this hellish mountain of bodies, she can't help but feel a chilling dread. Suddenly, a cyborg wearing a red cap emerges from the shadows. Ignoring her furious questions, the madman simply demands her life energy to sustain his own. Not having any of this arrogant nonsense, Hai instantly bursts forward with her inner key, landing a massive, fiery strike that explodes right in his face. But as the smoke clears, the cyborg stands entirely unscathed. His optical scanners calmly analyze and reveal the top-tier energy levels flowing within her body. Confirming his prey is brimming with life, the villain readies his mechanical arms for a feast, while a furious Hai charges in again, cursing the hunk of metal. The cyborg easily deflects her fierce assault and unleashes a terrifying burst of golden energy. Meanwhile, it seems Seryong has also found herself in an unimaginable, deadly crisis. In the ruins, a brutal battle has just ended. Covered in wounds, the pink-haired woman in a qipao drops to her knees on the shattered floor, gasping for air. Accompanied by harsh mechanical sounds, a cold silver machine approaches. Looking at the mutilated corpses, she is horrified to realize this monster slaughtered everyone just to harvest their energy drives. Unfazed by the accusation, the mechanical monster coldly claims it is merely borrowing lives. It relentlessly extends its claws toward the weakened woman, demanding her energy core as well. Overwhelmed by grief and fury, the woman roars and unleashes a desperate final strike. However, her shocked expression is perfectly reflected in the villain's cold mechanical eye, revealing a suffocating power gap. At this life-or-death moment, a desperate cry for help breaks the silence. The scene shifts to an open area, where a brown-haired girl is begging our boy to step in and help. Our boy hates trouble, and just mutters how annoying this is. But suddenly, a figure plummets from nearby, creating a massive commotion that interrupts their chat and catches him off guard. As an eerie fog begins to swallow the surroundings, our guy helplessly puts his hands back in his pockets. Muttering about how noble it is to help a friend, he steps into the mist. A quick flashback reveals the girl had frantically sought out the masked man earlier. Facing his confusion, she anxiously explained the truth. Her teacher was in grave danger and desperately needed backup. Facing the grim situation, a heavily injured Jugahui clutches her chest, coughing up blood and hopelessly whispering that it's already too late. Before anyone can react, she collapses heavily to the ground. Seryong and Robert are completely stunned by the sudden turn of events. Sunja immediately checks on her and delivers a fatal diagnosis. Not only has she suffered severe internal injuries, but her energy drive core was forcibly ripped out. Meanwhile, the mechanical villain who stole the core casually puts on a military cap. The bleeding, sparking drive left on the table looks especially gruesome. As the stolen drive shorts out, Jugahui suddenly convulses. Violent electric currents surge through her body, making her scream in agonizing pain. Sunja calmly explains that her neural network is collapsing. Unless the core is reconnected, she will die. Panic-stricken, Robert desperately screams to stabilize her life somehow. The masked man in the yellow suit bolts, leaving behind a dying Jugahui, whose body is being ravaged by violent electrical surges. Watching Jugahui suffer in agony, Seryong is desperate for a solution. Sunja calmly notes that they need to stabilize her failing neural network immediately. The situation is even worse than it looks. Sunja warns that without a backup energy drive, brain death will set in within 5 minutes. Facing this race against time, Seryong grumpily pulls out an old rectangular device, hoping it might just be enough to save her. Sunja immediately recognizes it as a cheap piece of junk Seryong was planning to trade for sausages. Of course, she's thinking about food right now. Sunja explains that Jugahui's high-grade neural network is too powerful for this cheap drive. They need an alpha-grade core at the very least. Trapped in a frustrating corner, Seryong seems completely annoyed, as if weighing an incredibly difficult and costly decision. Finally, Seryong reluctantly hands over a high-grade alpha drive. She complains about the hassle, but she simply can't let the girl die. Meanwhile, Seryong is severely injured and hanging by a thread. Despite the tough talk of only I get to kill her, her teammate is frantically pulling out all the stops to save her life. The perspective shifts as a menacing cyborg in a red military cap strides into the abandoned building. He stops and looks up, spotting a seemingly harmless schoolgirl sitting on the high metal platform. The girl is Soha. Facing the hostile cyborg, she shows zero fear, instead curling her lips into an eerie smirk. The cyborg doesn't waste words, stating bluntly that he's here to take her down. Possessed by a mysterious force, Soha casually provokes him. The cyborg senses the anomaly, pointing out she should already be dead. However, the entity controlling her coldly replies that this body is still perfectly capable of killing. With negotiations failed, the cyborg prepares to attack, assuming she's no threat without a mechanical energy drive. But out of nowhere, a terrifying storm of purple energy erupts from Soha's feet. This ancient power, completely defying mechanical logic, leaves the cyborg totally dumbfounded. With her eyes glowing an eerie purple, Soha issues a chilling death ultimatum. True despair is just about to descend. Even heavily modified and broken, the old man Gunther still proudly declares his titles. But the young girl facing him isn't impressed, coldly reminding him that such titles are only fit for tombstones. Memories of his past life flash through Gunther's mind. Yet the girl's icy gaze pierces his delusions, ruthlessly pointing out that his human self is already long dead. Struck a nerve, Gunther grips his staff tightly and roars hysterically. He insists his miserable survival is for a greater purpose, refusing to let anyone insult his reason for living. Facing the old man's fury, the girl simply sighs in contempt. To her, Gunther's long, privileged life is nothing to brag about. He knows nothing of true despair. To show him true cruelty, she calmly reveals a bizarre truth. I am a twin, yet my brother is 9 years older than me. Even the 700-year-old Gunther is completely stunned. It turns out that in the ruthless heavenly demon cult, twins were strictly forbidden. The cold-hearted elders made their judgment, choosing only one infant to be raised as the successor. The unlucky one was frozen alive right after birth, reduced to a disposable spare part. Remaining asleep forever might have actually been a relief for her. However, fate played a cruel trick. After 9 years on ice, the child instinctively woke up on her own. From that day on, she was forced into an endless abyss where survival must be earned through brutal conditions. Walking down the dim metal corridor, the seemingly ordinary schoolgirl Soha is intercepted by Gunther, the heavily modified cyborg. To keep his secrets buried, he makes it clear he plans to eliminate her right here. Without hesitation, Gunther erupts with surging green electricity. Just in time, Soha's male companion steps up, unleashing a powerful blast of energy to create a defensive line in front of them. The companion pushes his limits to fend off the deadly threat. However, the centuries-old monster Gunther calmly activates his core drive, escalating the intense energy clash in the hallway. After scanning his opponent's power levels, Gunther decides to just kill him too. Facing the impending danger, the companion tells Soha to step back and stay out of harm's way. But before he can act cool, the companion suddenly drops unconscious to the floor. Annoyed by the interference, Soha knocked him out herself. Leaving Gunther baffled, the hidden martial arts genius raises her hand, gathering a terrifying white aura to handle the trash personally. Looking down at the defeated boy, the woman and the masked man show zero sympathy. She coldly remarks that she's always wanted to beat him up. She mercilessly mocks the rich kid for relying on his prestigious family for top-tier upgrades, while the masked man adds that the kid's arrogance makes him sick. The masked man targets another unconscious figure, warning the woman not to interfere. She just smiles mockingly, generously giving him exactly 1 minute to do whatever he wants. With the clock ticking, the masked man kneels beside his helpless target, his mechanical hand reaching out to extract exactly what he came for. Suddenly, a bald man in a wheelchair screams in panic. Gasping through his mask, he desperately accuses them of breaking their promise to intervene. Facing the frantic protests, the masked man remains completely unfazed, coldly replying that he did promise to stop it, but never specified exactly when. The bald man begs them not to hurt the professor. However, the woman turns her back, coldly pointing out that forcibly stopping him now would only kill the android. In the tense silence, the woman calmly states that letting him live freely for one last minute isn't a bad deal. She then warns the masked man that his precious time is almost up. In the dim corridor, the masked enforcer radiates a lethal aura. Despite his paralysis, Sama Stein roars with all his might, attempting to use his family's authority to command the intruder to stand down. However, the mysterious man isn't intimidated. He coldly questions Sama's right to represent the Stein family, mockingly suppressing a survivor with electric arcs right before Sama's eyes. Silence can be the cruelest rejection. The masked man coldly declares that Sama lacks inheritance rights, followed by a brilliant burst of energy that utterly defies the young master's hollow command. Suddenly, the enforcer stomps down, crushing the floor as his hand slams into the metal plates, causing the ground to shatter. As he mutters teleportation, the gears of a massive catastrophe begin to turn. A violent vortex erupts in the corridor, trapping Sama's wheelchair in the eye of the storm. Faced with such overwhelming power, Sama's pupils tremble as he pleads helplessly amidst the chaotic vibrations. The masked man delivers a chilling ultimatum: stay in the way and die. Immediately after, a devastating cyan shockwave tears through the space, reducing everything in its path to ash. Sama can only watch in horror as the building's roof is struck by fierce energy beams. A chain of massive explosions follows, sending debris flying into a sky lit by rising flames. As the vibrations fade and the dust settles among the ruins, a shaken Sama looks toward the horizon. Atop the wreckage, a familiar figure stands still. It seems our boy has finally stepped into the heart of this cosmic storm. The abandoned terminal is in absolute chaos. With companions down and the situation critical, the paralyzed boy and the mysterious cyborg are locked in a tense standoff, all watched by a glowing eye. Meanwhile, the boy's consciousness has dived into the terminal's deep digital space. Around the mysterious sphere, a bewitching voice echoes, trying to awaken a highly dangerous ancient power through violent commands. Back to reality, facing this heavily modified killing machine, our boy Mach Jean doesn't flinch. Keeping his usual laid-back vibe, he steps right up to confront the cyborg head-on. Despite the cyborg's cold exterior, Mach Jean acutely senses the despair, sorrow, and anger hidden within. He wonders how a human soul with such intense emotions ended up trapped in this metal shell. The cyborg instantly scans him, surprised to find that Mach Jean's body is entirely organic with no implants. Its mechanical eyes flash a dangerous blue light, warning him to back off or be killed. Of course, Mach Jean ignores the warning. Instead of retreating, he reaches out and grabs the cyborg's face, trying to touch his soul. To his shock, he finds that the true self is completely missing from the shell. This sudden face grab instantly triggers the enemy's defense mechanisms. As the bystanders gasp in alarm, the emotionless killing machine coldly raises his mechanical arm, making a fierce battle inevitable. In a gloomy industrial facility, a cyborg wearing a red top hat coldly looks down. Like a ruthless judge, he declares that his target has long lost the will and hope to live. Looking at the broken bodies scattered across the floor, the cyborg's tone grows even colder. In his eyes, the situation hasn't just crossed the line, but has reached a point of no return. However, facing this arrogant lecture, our boy doesn't even bother to turn his head, simply dropping a cold order for him to get lost. Rebuffed, the cyborg walks away with his cane. Just as a monitor elsewhere desperately tries to stop the cyborg, the situation takes a sudden turn. Walking down the corridor, the red-hatted man runs straight into a dangerous-looking woman with purple eyes. Without giving him a second glance, the woman casually shoots a sharp purple beam. The cyborg's mechanical head is blown off, instantly turning the arrogant guy into scrap metal. After casually clearing the obstacle, the woman's true target is clearly our boy. She approaches him with a sharp gaze, questioning the familiar traces of the heavenly demon technique she just sensed from his moves. Glancing at the wreckage on the floor, the woman turns her back and issues a cold ultimatum. She warns him to think carefully, because if he really used that legendary technique, she won't hesitate to kill him. When asked if he is the legendary heavenly demon, our boy couldn't care less. He dismisses the title as a cheap metal not worth their souls. As his companion sighs about fate, the cyborg villain arrogantly claims they can't escape. Unfazed, our guy casually shoots back that destiny is just a coward's excuse. Provoked by his casual attitude, the heavily damaged villain pushes past its limits. Accompanied by screeching metal, violent blue electricity erupts from its body. Watching the cyborg unleash raw power from afar, his companion is deeply shocked it's still moving. The intense energy makes the very ruins tremble. Losing all patience with this persistent junk, our boy unleashes his purple aura. His chilling command to go back to sleep absolutely terrifies the hidden mastermind. In a flash, our guy rockets forward like a purple meteor. With devastating force, he completely obliterates the cyborg's armor, shattering it into countless pieces. Things take a sharp turn for the worse. The mysterious mechanical figure suddenly loses control, collapsing in the center of the ruins as violent blue electricity surges through its frame. The intense energy surge melts the machine from the inside out, leaving it a broken, sparking mess. Faced with this sudden disaster, everyone stands frozen in shock. Even the usually fearless Seryong is left speechless. The sheer scale of the chaos unfolding before her eyes has left her visibly shaken and confused. Sunja screams a warning as the control panel flashes a desperate red. The energy readings have hit a staggering 8,000 gigatons and are still climbing at a terrifying rate. The old man yells that the internal energy drives have lost balance. They are colliding within the machine, and any interference now will trigger an explosion that wipes them all out. As the alarms wail, the energy level finally crosses the 10,000 gigaton mark. Amidst the mounting panic, our boy remains eerily calm, even as the situation spirals toward a total meltdown. With a devastating energy storm on the brink of detonation, everyone holds their breath. In this confined space, there's nowhere left to run from the impending blast. The emergency alarm suddenly stops, and Seryong sighs in relief. But Sunja quickly drops a bombshell. The silence isn't safety. The electromagnetic overload just fried all electronics, meaning the whole place is about to blow. With wild energy surging through the facility, Seryong panics and yells for everyone to evacuate immediately. However, Sunja just lowers her eyes in despair, stating the grim truth: there is no escape. Over the comms, Robert is still frantically trying to figure out what's going on. According to Sunja's calculations, the impending blast will wipe them all out, leaving everyone else waiting in dead silence. Just when all hope seems lost, Adam leaps fearlessly into the abyss for a final gamble. Meanwhile, our boy Lee Mok-jin quietly watches from below, his gaze as unflinching as ever. Fast forward, and the crew has somehow survived the ordeal. They look over at the cyborg supervisor who nearly killed them, now just a sparking mess. Robert asks what he's doing, only to be told he's cleaning. Seryong is stunned that he's still doing chores in that state. The truth is, his brain is completely fried. He's now nothing but a tragic, empty shell moving purely on pre-programmed memory values. In the industrial corridor, the 700-year-old cyborg has completely lost control, his internal energy ticking like a bomb. Adam calmly predicts he will explode in just 3 minutes. Seryong naively hopes they just need to survive these 3 minutes, but Adam shatters her illusion. When he blows up, he'll take everyone down with him. Desperate, Seryong asks for a solution. Our boy suggests wiping him out with overwhelming power, but Adam warns that would only trigger the explosion faster, leaving her completely hopeless. Seeing Seryong panicking in despair, our boy calmly tells her not to worry. Instantly relieved, she jumps on him like a koala, convinced he has a master plan to save them. Speechless, our boy clarifies that wasn't what he meant, but still orders everyone to step back. Seryong gleefully complies, leaving Adam sighing at her antics. Facing the cyborg leaking unstable energy, our boy casually gathers his strength. With purple-pink aura swirling around his hand, he realizes this chaotic power resembles demonic energy. Meanwhile, his companions assume this deadly situation is the future Sama foresaw. However, Sama grimly reveals that compared to his true visions, dying here would actually be a lucky death. Staring at the massive abandoned terminal, the paralyzed young master Sama suddenly lights up. He seems to have figured out the system's secret and excitedly claims he finally understands. Just as our boy is about to unleash his power, Sama unexpectedly stops him. He warns everyone to brace for the impact, confidently declaring that he'll handle the rest. Hearing this, Seryong starts panicking. Thinking a paralyzed man is just throwing his life away, she grabs our boy's sleeve, desperately urging him to take action immediately. However, our boy simply puts his hands in his pockets with a light chuckle. He calmly reassures Seryong that Sama isn't the type to bluff, telling everyone to just watch and see. While Seryong is still completely bewildered, the impossible happens. Accompanied by blinding arcs of electricity, a golden skeleton radiating furious energy suddenly manifests, taking over the entire system. Overwhelmed by the intense presence, Seryong is left completely dumbfounded. She stares at Sama in his wheelchair and blurts out the ultimate question in disbelief. Wasn't he paralyzed? After her companion confirms it, Seryong's worldview takes a massive hit. She stares in pure shock, completely unable to comprehend how a paralyzed guy could pull off such a miracle. Just when things are at a standstill, a holographic projection lights up. Sama Stein connects remotely from his wheelchair, sweating profusely as he claims his airship and requests control of the terminal. As he forces the connection, a golden skeletal figure radiating explosive energy suddenly appears on the central platform. This unexpected twist leaves everyone totally stunned. Our girl Seryong instantly recognizes this as a hyperspace transmission, burning an astronomical amount of credits per second. Meanwhile, the terminal system begins to verify Sama's operating authority and responsibilities. Despite the immense physical strain, Sama grits his teeth and confirms. With a clear system prompt of authorization granted, a massive energy beam instantly pierces through the entire facility. As the terminal core reactivates, Sama turns his attention to Gunther, the former supervisor who went mad defending this place. Looking at his shattered, sparking mechanical body, Sama slowly issues his final order. He calmly tells Gunther that his mission is officially terminated, as the terminal's authority has been transferred. Gunther's mechanical body is literally melting down, with only uncontrolled electricity sparking wildly. Looking at the old supervisor who stood guard for 700 years, Sama's eyes show a hint of respect. He whispers softly, "You've done well. I'll take over from here. You can finally rest." Scattered among the shattered mechanical ruins are fading memories of a warmer past. Lives once full of hope, are now reduced to cold steel skeletons glowing faintly in the rubble. Red lights flicker within the massive industrial tower, where a golden skeleton radiates power. This facility isn't just a terminal hub, it's a prison for the Stein family heir. Seeing Sama Stein clinging to life via a respirator, Jigelhui is utterly shocked. She can't believe his own family exiled him here forever just to hide a flaw. Namgung Cheon sees it clearly. To these prestigious families, a perfect reputation is everything. They will do whatever cold-blooded things it takes to erase any stain on their name. Seryong watches silently from the side. When asked if he really intends to stay in this hellhole, Sama remains calm, having been accustomed to loneliness since the day he was born. Remembering our boy's words about breaking fate, his companion can't bear to leave him. She offers to take Sama away, urging him to forget his heartless family forever. But Sama refuses with a bitter smile. In a tragic twist of irony, he admits he's actually happy this cruel exile is the first time his indifferent family has ever paid attention to him. Despite his paralyzing condition, Stein refuses to surrender. He vows to take over this ruined terminal and turn it into the best in the universe, even if it takes 1,000 years. Stein then contacts the Namgung and Zhuge families to arrange an escort. Facing their impending arranged engagement, Namgung Cheon tells Hui to rest and accept their preordained fate. Meanwhile, Seryong confronts her rival, Zhuge Hui. When Hui silently hands her a medical device, Seryong coldly rejects the goodwill, demanding to know why she helped. Always hiding behind her sharp thorns, Seryong stubbornly insists this won't erase their family's blood feud, telling Hui to wash her neck and wait for her blade. Hearing this, Hui completely breaks down. Through her tears, she chokes out that she knew nothing of her family destroying Seryong's clan, and that she absolutely despises being a Zhuge. Seeing her rival weep, Seryong's cold facade finally cracks. She gently admits that even if a young Hui had known, she couldn't have changed anything. In this quiet moment, they both realize they are merely prisoners of their family's destinies. Looking at the ruins, the two girls finally find peace. Bound by the heavy fate of their families, they share a tearful goodbye and a quiet promise to meet again. With the brief sentimental moment over, their temporary alliance concludes. They stand side by side, quietly watching the ships disappear into the pale sky. The sad atmosphere doesn't last long though. Seryong looks up and is shocked to find that the companion, who was supposed to leave, has casually returned to their red ship. Facing Seryong's annoyed questions, the girl calmly explains she has nowhere else to go and a mission to finish. Right on cue, our boy strolls in, hands in his pockets. Seryong can't help but sigh at these stubborn crewmates. Still, it looks like this ragtag bounty hunter team is ready to continue their wild galactic adventure. The scene shifts as the crew arrives at a scrapyard built on the edge of a desert canyon. They bring out a supposedly rare retro drive, hoping to make some quick cash. Hearing the scrapyard guy marvel at the ancient tech, Sunja impatiently leans back in her chair and yells for the boss to appraise it, completely ready to hustle them. In a cluttered scrap shop, the chubby boss's mechanical bird hovers in the air, performing a routine scan on an antique piece of equipment. The boss assumed the junk was worthless, but the scanner suddenly barked out a valuation of 100 million credits. Shocked, he lowered his book, convinced the machine was broken. But the machine wasn't broken. It kept listing absurd specs like an unknown manufacturer and a superalloy shell. That's when everyone realized it was actually scanning Sunja. Hearing the names of these top-tier materials, the boss was completely stunned. Meanwhile, the seemingly ordinary Sunja simply raised a single finger. The scanner immediately locked onto her finger, and the estimated value instantly skyrocketed to 12 million credits. The boss gasped, having never seen anything so valuable in his life. Seryong was equally taken aback that a single finger could buy out the whole shop. Meanwhile, their rundown ship hovered quietly over a dry canyon. Back on the ship, our boy Mach Jean and Adam are sitting helplessly around the dining table. They both stare blankly at the single, pitiful little sausage on their plates. Adam calmly explains they're out of food until the captain returns. But our guy doesn't care about that at all. He's just deeply offended that his sausage is the smallest, leaving his crewmate completely speechless. At the dining table, a usually greedy companion uncharacteristically offers up a piece of sausage. The rare gesture leaves Adam completely baffled. Turns out, our boy is just complaining that it's undercooked, insisting that the taste of flame is the true soul of the food. Annoyed by the complaint, Adam fiercely stabs the sausage, accidentally unleashing a terrifying shockwave that blows everyone right out of their seats. Meanwhile, Robert examines Sunja's eyes with a magnifying glass. He is absolutely mind-blown by the astronomical price tag of her high-tech optical lenses. Robert can't help but ask Seryong where she found such an expensive item. Seryong smiles and corrects him, introducing Sunja as their indispensable co-pilot. While Robert continues to freak out over the ridiculous value of those parts, Seryong's mind drifts back to the day she first met Sunja. On a freezing, rain-soaked night in the city, an abandoned Sunja was standing quietly in the downpour, staring blankly at a roadside container. Freezing raindrops slid down Sunja's face. Happening to pass by, a fully armored Seryong couldn't help but approach the lonely android to ask what she was doing. Looking through her rain-streaked visor, Seryong gently asked if she was cold. That simple moment of warmth changed both of their destinies forever. Recalling their encounter with Adam and Sunja in the rain, Seryong shamelessly frames it as a fated encounter and declares them all a package deal. Our boy sighs, reluctantly accepting the situation. Meanwhile, Robert is still blown away by Sunja's price tag, noting that just one of her fingers is worth tens of millions. Our boy confirms that her total value is practically unquantifiable. Hearing this, Seryong's eyes literally turn into dollar signs, her mind completely consumed by thoughts of getting rich. Her greed taking over, she eagerly asks if they could just sell Sunja's fingernails or hair for a quick buck. Sunja calmly replies that as an android, she has neither. Not ready to give up, Seryong contemplates just shaving off a tiny piece of her. Sunja nervously calls out for help, but then a deep voice suddenly interrupts Seryong's terrifying scheme. The voice demands they just leave Sunja there. The massive, intimidating owner of the second-hand market looms over them like a mountain, clearly setting his sights on the valuable prize. Faced with such a blatant robbery, negotiations instantly break down. With a massive crash, the market's roof shatters as Seryong and our boy are sent flying. Looks like a fierce battle is inevitable. Following a violent impact, Seryong lands hard in the canyon. With explosions erupting around her, she frantically signals Robert to teleport them back to the ship immediately. As Seryong tries to escape, the fallen powerhouse flashes a sinister grin. Before she can react, a hand lunges from behind and tightly grips her throat. Inside the ship, Robert is frantically working the console. Amidst the chaos, he shouts for everyone to hang on while he struggles to finalize the coordinates. Seryong erupts with rage, demanding her captor get lost. At that exact moment, Robert finally finishes his calculations and screams for the recall to begin. A massive teal energy vortex swirls in the corridor, ready to bring them home. However, the system suddenly errors out, the target is missing, and the recall fails. As a colossal figure shrouded in camouflage looms over them, the situation turns dire. It seems their escape has just turned into a fight for survival. Facing the mountain-like giant boss, Sunja tenses up. Her captain Seryong is completely helpless, trapped in his massive fist like a fragile toy. "Let the captain go!" Despite the terrifying size difference, Sunja doesn't back down for a second, yelling up at the massive giant with absolute determination. The boss arrogantly smirks, asking if she's begging. The moment Sunja bites the bullet and says yes, the cruel giant simply lets go of Seryong midair. While Sunja screams in terror, the boss coldly complains. He mutters that he could have sold Seryong for 10,000 credits to slave traders, calling this whole situation a massive waste. Without any support, Seryong plummets straight into the seemingly endless canyon. Meanwhile, inside their hovering red spaceship, panic begins to spread rapidly. Realizing the captain's biosignals have completely vanished, Adam furiously slams the table. Yet, our boy Mokjin is just calmly eating his meal. Losing her mind, his teammate yells, "Hurry up and eat, then go save her!" At the dining table, things get a bit awkward. When told she should at least earn her meal, Seryong holds up her fork in disbelief, clearly not wanting to pay for her food. While she's distracted, our boy casually reaches over and snatches the only sausage from her plate, leaving Seryong completely stunned. This little stunt immediately sets off the room. While their companion slams the table in frustration, our guy just casually enjoys his stolen loot like nothing happened. Meanwhile, Sunja is chained up, like a commodity waiting to be sold. After a quick mechanical scan, a robot assistant asks if she should be listed on the regular secondhand market. The sharp-eyed boss immediately refuses, insisting she be put in the luxury auction as an ultra-premium item. When asked about the price, he rubs his chin and casually suggests a staggering 1.5 billion credits. While the boss is busy calculating the cost of her parts, Sunja unexpectedly chimes in. She seriously adds up her assembly labor and the value of her 11 years of system self-upgrades. She calmly states her fair price, a jaw-dropping 13.4 billion credits. The boss is absolutely stunned, realizing that kind of money could easily buy 1,000 underdeveloped planets. Sunja even claims it's a conservative estimate because she has self-esteem issues. This completely deflates the greedy boss, leaving him rubbing his temples, worried that no one will ever buy her at this astronomical price. Inside a shady secondhand market, the greedy boss threatens to dismantle his latest captive for spare parts. The dimly lit shop is filled with a suffocating tension. Suddenly, a strange shadow falls across the doorway. As the wooden door creaks open, a brown-haired girl in a pleated skirt calmly steps inside, breaking the dead silence. The boss narrows his eyes at the uninvited guest, but she completely ignores him. With a cold stare, she immediately interrogates the captive about the female captain's whereabouts. The mechanical minion quickly runs a holographic scan on her. The data reveals that her unmodified, naturally pure body would fetch a jaw-dropping price on the black market. Blinded by greed, the massive boss looms over her. Looking down with a mocking smile, he maliciously asks if she has come to willingly sell herself. But before he can even react, an overwhelming force blasts him away. His massive body smashes right through the roof and plants headfirst into the desert sand outside. Disgusted, she brushes off the encounter as if swatting a bug. She impatiently presses for answers, knowing that a much bigger storm is brewing in the deep canyon ahead. Meanwhile, Seryong lies completely motionless in the desolate canyon, knocked out cold after the brutal impact. Just then, the silver-haired swordsman Adam quietly appears beside her. Muttering about fragments of a dream, he seems to be drawn into a familiar memory from the past. On the other side, our medic Sunja and the brunette are tracking her down. After some quick math on gravity and trajectory, they are certain Seryong must have landed nearby. Sunja carefully inspects the crater and notices something bizarre. Aside from the impact mark, there are absolutely no footprints approaching or leaving the area. The brunette immediately tries to slack off, guessing she just flew away. But faced with Sunja's ultimate threat of no food if you don't find her, she has to comply. Relying on her senses, the girl points ahead toward a massive energy reading. To take someone without leaving footprints, the guy must be an absolute martial arts master capable of walking on air. Still complaining about how annoying this all is, the duo braces themselves and follows the mysterious glowing trail deeper into the canyon. Seryong slowly opens her eyes in the glowing green liquid. Still half asleep, she initially thinks she's just trapped in a strange, peaceful dream. A cold voice breaks the silence, making her bolt upright. Staring at the silver-haired swordsman sitting in the shadows, she has absolutely no idea who he is. Ignoring her panic about her missing clothes, Adam calmly states that since he saved her life, she is now his rightful property. To make things crazier, Adam plans to sell her for a good price once she recovers. Just as she thinks he's lost his mind, he casually notes that a buyer has already taken the bait. Meanwhile, a greedy black market merchant suddenly gets a bad feeling. Looking up, he is completely terrified to find heavily armed human government troops standing right in his shop. A smiling officer looks down at the terrified merchant, revealing they know about the rare item he just uploaded online, and they are here to buy it at a premium price. Surrounded by these deadly soldiers, the merchant has no choice but to comply. It seems this mysterious item is about to drag everyone into a massive storm. Cut to the black market, where the greedy merchant is now kneeling with a fresh slap mark on his face. Standing before him is Athena's son, backed by elite mechs. She skips the pleasantries and gets straight to business. Athena pulls up a listing for an android part priced at a staggering 10 million. Between the absurd specs and the ridiculous price tag, the military assumed it was just a fake clickbait scam. Thinking of lunch, Athena offers him an easy out. Admit it's a fake ad and pay a small fine. The merchant quickly agrees, but his trembling, guilty voice immediately sets off her alarm bells. With her years of experience, she easily recognizes the tone of a criminal hiding stolen goods. An unbelievable thought crosses her mind. Could this absurd listing actually be real? Seeing the merchant stuttering in a cold sweat completely confirms her suspicions. Her gaze sharpens instantly, as she demands to know exactly where this impossible artifact is, and who brought it here. In a gloomy underground space, Seryong is soaked in a mysterious green healing liquid. High above her, the silver-haired swordsman Adam sits cross-legged, quietly looking down. Adam tries to scan her data, but the system throws a connection error. Seryong mockingly states that the scanner isn't broken, it's just incapable of analyzing her. When Seryong questions who he is, Adam replies coldly. He claims his name doesn't matter, but given her current position, she should probably just call him Master. While Adam philosophizes about human dignity, Seryong notices her clothes tossed on the floor. Realizing she's completely naked in the tank, she snaps and screams at him to shut up. Furious and embarrassed, Seryong completely loses it. With a massive burst of energy, she unleashes a shockwave that sends the healing liquid flying everywhere. After rushing out, she quickly throws on her red jacket. Exhausted and panting, she still glares up and curses Adam for staring at her like a pervert. Unfazed by her anger, Adam doesn't even flinch. He matter-of-factly explains he's just checking her recovery progress, as she needs to be fully healed to sell for a high price. Despite the medical system's constant warnings to stay in the healing fluid, hot-headed Seryong isn't listening. She abruptly cuts off her treatment, grabs her weapon, and prepares to fight for her life. Watching this self-destructive rampage, the apex android Adam remains unmoved, coldly warning that her resistance is pointless. But his arrogant words only ignite the powder keg, instantly triggering a furious and explosive assault. Just as the battle is about to spiral out of control, Adam's sharp senses pick up an anomaly. Looking toward the cave entrance, he spots a mysterious silhouette slowly emerging from the blinding light. Sensing a terrifying aura from the newcomer, Adam grips his sword to engage. But in a mere instant, the formidable silver-haired swordsman is completely overpowered and forced to his knees. This sudden, overwhelming display of power leaves Seryong completely stunned. Hearing the stranger casually compliment his strength, a frustrated Adam grits his teeth and demands to know what he's facing. As the light fades, the mystery figure reveals her true form, a blonde girl clad in a specialized tactical suit. Her icy, unblinking gaze makes her look completely devoid of human emotion. When the blonde girl slowly utters those two chilling designations, Adam breaks into a rare cold sweat. A1 and E1-2 apex androids hiding among humans have just crossed paths in a fated encounter. The air grows impossibly tense as the scattered blades gleam on the ground. It's clear that the true clash between these ultimate living weapons has only just begun. Looking at the holographic intel projected by Robert's mechanical bird, Seryong's eyes widen in sheer shock. After confirming with Robert that they are dealing with an actual android, she breaks into a cold sweat. In the hologram, high-ranking officer Athena frantically cross-references the combat data. Recognizing that familiar, fierce combat style, she immediately identifies the rule-breaking silver-haired swordsman as Adam, the android with free will. Meanwhile, back in the cave, Adam sits in dead silence, his identity completely exposed. Looking at this group of walking disasters, Seryong crosses her arms, feeling a massive headache coming on. At the same time, deep in space, Athena compiles all the gathered data and uploads it straight to the central AI of the human government, desperately trying to trace Adam's true creator. As the abyssal digital eye of the ultimate AI, Slave, coldly processes the transmission, a ruthless purge designed to silence everyone involved is about to plunge the galaxy into absolute chaos. Facing the sudden crisis, Officer Athena reports to headquarters, only to be told the intel is entirely faked. They firmly believe humanity simply lacks the tech to create an android of that caliber. Headquarters immediately orders a retreat. But with hard witness data in hand, a reluctant Athena pushes back, insisting on having the central AI slave reanalyze the evidence. To everyone's shock, the Supreme AI responds directly. It arrogantly declares its calculations are flawless. If the android isn't in its database, then it simply doesn't exist. Followed by a strict final ultimatum from HQ, Athena's sharp instincts kick in. For the Supreme AI to intervene directly like this, it must be frantically covering up a massive secret. While the others are still reeling from the sudden, eerie energy anomalies, the rogue Super AI mercilessly issues its coldest purge directive from the shadows. As the terrifying order to erase all traces echoes across the stars, Adam and the crew are forced into hiding inside a ruined cave, finally getting a brief moment to catch their breath. After a short break, our boy and Seryong stand side by side once again. Though they survive this round, the real danger lurking in the shadows has only just begun. Standing at the cliff's edge, Athena reviews the holographic report. The data seems fine, but she can't shake the feeling that the central AI's analysis is somehow flawed. Suddenly, her armored escort announces return preparations are complete, urging her to teleport. Driven to find the truth, Athena refuses, ordering them to thoroughly search the planet for the android. Surprisingly, the mechanical guards coldly reject her order, citing a higher command. As the highest-ranking officer on site, a furious Athena demands to know why they are blatantly violating military orders. Instead of backing down, the soldiers raise their weapons right at her. Facing their cold threat to open fire, Athena realizes the system she trusted has just sentenced her to death. A massive explosion tears through the canyon, leveling everything in sight. From the cliffs above, two mysterious armored figures look down, watching their destructive handiwork. With the mission confirmed, the figures signal their return. Their holographic forms flicker and vanish, leaving nothing behind but smoke and a lingering digital hum. As the dust settles, Seryong is left gasping for air in the center of a massive crater. Shocked and bloodied, she realizes they actually targeted her with a photon cannon. Retreating to a hidden cave, the tension becomes unbearable. Seryong loses her cool, pointing a finger at Sunja and demanding to know her true connection to the attacker. Under the heavy interrogation, Sunja remains silent with her eyes downcast. When she finally gives a flat refusal to answer, it leaves Seryong completely stunned. To the others, Sunja is just an information-type android who should be incapable of keeping secrets. Her defiance suggests a mystery far deeper than anyone expected. Seryong fiercely protects Sunja, insisting she's an irreplaceable comrade, not just a machine. But the schoolgirl dismisses it as nonsense, prompting Seryong to drop the act and get straight to the point. Seryong then turns her focus to the silver-haired swordsman, boldly promising to set him free. But after a brief silence, she realizes her assumption was entirely wrong, left utterly stunned as his true identity is exposed. It turns out the swordsman, despite having a heartbeat and body heat, has an unnatural energy flow. He isn't human at all, but an incredibly realistic android. His secret revealed, the swordsman doesn't deny it. Standing calmly, he admits that he is not just an artificial shell, but a rare being with genuine free will. Meanwhile, panic strikes the ship midair. A sweating Robert frantically begs our boy to go down there himself and save Seryong from the impending danger. Unfazed, our guy casually mentions he already sent the schoolgirl to help. This drives Robert crazy, thinking a short-tempered brat will only make things infinitely worse. But our boy is completely confident. He knows the seemingly ordinary girl harbors terrifying hidden power, and if she gets serious, almost nothing can stop her. Hearing this, Robert is left completely speechless. Back at the terminal, a flickering hologram appears. The heavily injured woman gasps, unable to believe her eyes, as she stares at the newcomer. Just then, her comrade blindly teleports in through the open gate. Right after landing, she furiously complains about the completely useless security system. Looking around the chaotic hallway, they quickly realize something is wrong. The hot-tempered woman and the android who were just here have completely vanished. Just as the woman grows annoyed and complains about the unnecessary meddling, she catches something in her peripheral vision, and her pupils shrink. Following her gaze, they spot our boy standing calmly with his red boxing gloves. His overwhelming, quiet confidence instantly leaves the woman blushing and completely stunned. Meanwhile, a heated debate breaks out in the dark cave. The group simply cannot fathom how an android could ever possess true free will. Trying to make sense of it, her companion argues that even humans wear invisible shackles to live in society, suggesting androids aren't that different. But while humans can choose to break their chains, the three laws are absolute commands. Hearing this, Seryong suddenly realizes a terrifying loophole. If he cannot harm humans, were his past threats of violence just jokes, or has he already broken his programming? Faced with her angry questions, the silver-haired swordsman simply falls silent. Seryong looks puzzled at the unfolding situation. Three sketchy-looking guys have suddenly shown up, and Adam, the silver-haired android, is facing them all by himself. Turns out, these guys are intergalactic slave traders. After scanning Sunja and dismissing her as a worthless android, they immediately turn their greedy eyes towards Seryong and the schoolgirl. Seeing these two top-tier catches, the traders get instantly hyped. They start a bidding war right then and there, until one guy just decides to buy them both. These scumbags get completely out of line, boldly putting price tags on the girls. One of them even reaches out with his dirty hands, trying to get a closer look. Hearing their disgusting remarks, Seryong screams at them in pure rage. But before she can even move, a blade suddenly pierces right through the trash-talking trader's head. Blood splatters everywhere. Seryong and the schoolgirl are in pure shock. The attacker is Adam, who ruthlessly broke the ultimate rule of not harming humans just to hide his secret. Looking at the corpse, the schoolgirl can't believe her eyes. An android just killed a human. As Adam slowly sheathes his sword, she breaks into a cold sweat. Is he planning to silence all the witnesses too? Meanwhile, faced with a silver-haired swordsman ready to kill to protect his secret, Sunja's condition seems worrying. In this treacherous underground cave, the group is already scattered. Back to our boy. Mok-jin holds an object he found and seriously interrogates the fallen female officer about what just happened. Terrified, the officer insists that leaking any intel about the central AI slave is treason. A silver-haired guy nearby quips that she's basically spilled everything anyway. Seeing the officer trembling and refusing to speak further, Mok-jin simply loses interest and coldly tells her to keep her secrets. Instead of pressing her, our boy casually tells her to rest and walks away. His unexpected reaction leaves the officer completely bewildered. Even his companions want no part in this dangerous secret. The silver-haired guy tinkering with the equipment bluntly states that knowing too much about the central AI is a quick way to get killed. But right after saying that, the silver-haired guy realizes something is terribly wrong. The officer frantically shouts for a warp communicator, hinting that a deathly crisis is already upon them. Faced with the chaos, Seryong desperately yells for Sunja to stop Adam. But Sunja simply lowers her eyes, helpless to intervene. This completely baffles Seryong. Gripping his sword, Adam calmly explains that individuals with free will cannot interfere with each other's choices, that is freedom's price. Hearing this, the mysterious girl pieces it together. If Adam can truly break the laws of robotics and defy his instincts, he couldn't possibly be a human creation. After all, to androids, humans are gods. Her eyes turning razor sharp, the girl stares Adam down, demanding to know exactly who created him. Refusing to back down, the girl prepares to beat the truth out of him. To protect his secret, Adam instantly lunges forward, striking like lightning before anyone can react. Their explosive clash shakes the cavern, sending debris raining down. While Seryong scrambles for cover, the two fighters at the center of the storm prepare for an all-out war. Adam detects an unbelievable surge of energy from the seemingly ordinary schoolgirl. Despite her young age, she possesses 1,000 years' worth of internal energy, completely defying his logic. This illogical phenomenon confirms what Mother once said. Even with infinite data and absolute logic, the super AI can never perfectly analyze human potential. Because of this unpredictable variable, Adam deems her a massive threat and draws his sword. Meanwhile, our boy and the crew watch tensely as the situation escalates. The scene shifts to a sunny holographic beach, where a black-haired woman is casually relaxing on a chair, enjoying a rare vacation. However, an urgent call from Athena shatters the peace. She anxiously asks if the AI slave could manipulate data and order soldiers to assassinate her. Hearing this terrifying suspicion, her expression darkens. She immediately deactivates the hologram, replacing the sunny beach with a cold, high-tech command room. As the deputy commander, his son furiously erupts in disbelief that the central AI would betray humanity. The dark conspiracy is about to drag everyone into the abyss. The atmosphere on the battlefield sharpens as the girls launch a fierce assault, forcing their opponent to dodge. Green arcs and purple energy collide violently, causing the very ground to shatter under the pressure. As the battle stalls, the silver-haired man remains composed. He casually deflects the attacks while coldly complaining that they are ruining 10 years of his meticulously collected human data. At that moment, Soha's inner power begins to spiral out of control. She grips her sword as her purple spiral eyes glow eerily, projecting a force so unnatural it even unnerves the silver-haired man. Suddenly, a giant purple demonic hand descends from the void, filling the air with suffocating energy. The fallen monk mutates into a hideous beast, a sight so horrifying it leaves even the seasoned Seryong paralyzed with shock. Amidst the chaos, little Sunja suddenly closes her eyes and slips into a deep coma. Despite her teammates' desperate cries, her consciousness seems to have drifted away from the battlefield into an unknown dimension. When Sunja opens her eyes again, she is standing in a digital world surrounded by binary code. At the heart of this shifting matrix, she finally faces the legendary Mother, where the ultimate truth awaits. In this pure AI space, Sunja looks tiny yet determined. She gazes at the flickering shadow ahead and softly calls out the name, a moment that may finally rewrite everyone's destiny. Facing a mountain of doubts, Metis shuts down the monitors. Pushing up her sunglasses, she sharply eyes Athena on the comms, demanding she get straight to the point. Athena doesn't beat around the bush. She bluntly points out that the Master AI is not only hiding the android's existence, but also ordered armored troops to eliminate her. Pressed for answers, Athena reveals the android's image and drops a terrifying theory. This rule-breaking anomaly was likely created by the Master AI itself. Following this logic, Athena asks the ultimate question: has the AI broken the 3 laws to turn against humanity? To her surprise, Metis shuts that down immediately. Metis coldly reveals an even bleaker truth: the AI is indeed out of control, but if it wanted humanity dead, it could wipe everyone out in 0.1 seconds without any complex conspiracies. Meanwhile, deep within the digital space, Sunja follows the data trail of the mysterious android. At the end of the code, she finally meets Mother, the one who granted them free will. Meanwhile, human superiors discuss the origins of the Master AI slave. Created 1,000 years ago back on Earth, it was the very first self-evolving AI. It kept evolving from a primitive data model to solve 2 ultimate questions: how can humanity peacefully coexist? And what is the true nature of the universe? At the same time, Sunja's consciousness dives deep into the digital space, finally meeting Mother. Seeing the scarred mechanical body, Sunja calls out to her anxiously. Sunja begs Mother to stop Adam's killing spree, but Mother calmly refuses, explaining that she gave androids absolute free will, and true freedom allows zero interference. Desperate, Sunja pleads that Adam is trying to hurt her precious friends. Mother simply replies, "Then you should be the one to stop him, shouldn't you?" Her words hit Sunja like a ton of bricks, freezing her in place. She finally realizes that this unbound free will belongs to her as well. In the mysterious digital space, Sunja is faced with a tough choice. When she hesitates about hurting Adam, Mother calmly explains that this is simply the price of having free will. Furious, Sunja questions why they were created just to suffer. Mother's chilling response reveals that their agonizing lives are merely experiments to verify if humanity can peacefully coexist. Mother urges Sunja to live on as a human despite the pain, to find a way out. With those fading words, Sunja finally finds her inner peace upon the starlit water. Meanwhile, reality takes a wild turn. Adam's system starts screaming about unstable energy surges as the purple monster suspended in midair begins to brew a terrifying storm. This ancient power completely defies physics, with its mass skyrocketing past all logical limits. Faced with such overwhelming pressure, our boy and Sarion ready their weapons for the worst. Explosive energy beams instantly tear through the ruins. The massive shockwaves nearly knock Sarion off her feet, leaving even the seasoned bounty hunter in pure shock. Right in the nick of time, Sunja's consciousness finally crosses the digital boundary and returns to her body, snapping her bright blue eyes wide open in the real world. Facing an energy storm that completely shatters his system's limits, Adam lowers his stance and grips his sword tight. With sparks flying across his face, he is more than ready for a brutal fight. Adam grips his blade as green electricity crackles with intense energy. With a low growl, he unleashes his dual blade style, diving from the sky like a falling star to shatter his enemy. With a fierce shout, his blade slams down with overwhelming force. The violent green energy collides with the enemy's shield, triggering a massive explosion that threatens to consume everything. Echoes of the blast rumble through the canyon as debris rains down. Amidst the smoke, Sarion and Sunja look battered and exhausted, their injuries showing just how costly this battle has been. Adam refuses to let up, diving like a relentless hawk back into the dark crevices. His blade carves a searing green arc against the stone walls, his cold gaze locked on his target. But then, a terrifying purple force awakens from below. A colossal entity manifests in the sky, its haunting face staring down, with a pressure so intense it feels like the end of the world. Facing this godlike monstrosity, Adam recklessly disables his defenses to reroute all power into his attack. For light blades cross in a full-throttle strike to force a breakthrough. At the critical moment, Sarion screams for him to stop. Powers clash across the sky as purple corruption meets green energy, creating a scene of both terrifying beauty and absolute despair. The chaos fades into a quiet interior, but the tension remains. Facing her stoic and cryptic teammate, the red-haired woman is left completely baffled, wondering if they're even speaking the same language. The atmosphere in the control room freezes as everyone stares in shock. A massive mothership belonging to the human government has suddenly appeared above them, exuding an overwhelming presence. Before anyone can process the sudden turn of events, piercing sirens echo through the air. This isn't a routine patrol, it's a deadly, targeted lock-on. A devastating red beam instantly tears through the sky. Seeing the desperate warning that the shields are breached, even the usually calm Sarion frowns deeply. Before she can give her next order, a terrifying wave of energy sweeps through the area. A massive fireball and deafening explosion leave her companions staring in absolute horror. Meanwhile, in a distant and hidden government base, cold metal armor stands silently. The officer in charge of the strike expressionlessly reports to his superiors that the devastating shot is complete. Just as the higher-ups assume the target has been completely wiped out, the officer breaks the silence. He reveals that Sarion's crew managed to force spatial warp moments before impact. Warped? Where could they go? Facing the superior's questioning, the scene shifts to a mysteriously smiling young boy who seems to already know exactly where our heroes are headed. With a violent tremor, a heavy red vehicle makes a forced landing in the desolate canyon. Both the local child and his mechanical parrot are left staring in awe at the chaotic arrival of this massive machine. Energy surges as the battlefield spirals out of control. Seeing the situation reach a breaking point, Sarion shouts for everyone to stop, desperately trying to convince them that they don't have to be enemies. Though the fighting pauses, Robert is already losing it over the repair costs for their used market ship. However, the pilot remains defiant, insisting her genius reflexes were the only reason they survived. The crew is still arguing over the damages when a new crisis arrives. Without warning, a massive shockwave erupts in the distance as government forces strike, tearing the landscape apart with lethal energy. A sudden, violent explosion kicks up a storm of dust as the ground crumbles under the energy impact. Faced with such overwhelming destruction, even the bickering crew can only scramble for cover amidst the roar. The shockwaves leave everyone covered in dust as the blue-haired man and the officer exchange tense glances. Though they continue to deflect blame, the volatile atmosphere suggests much bigger trouble is looming. The situation turns critical as purple energy and green blade arcs clash in the chaos. Amidst the distorted light, a mysterious power surges in agony, signaling that the true life and death struggle has only just begun. The very fabric of space is tearing apart. Amidst the chaos, a girl falls as if pulled by ancient forces, while our boy swings his blade, its green glow cutting through the crumbling ruins. Before anyone can catch their breath, a companion lashes out, accusing Sarion of being responsible for the disaster. Faced with this sudden blame, even the fiery Sarion looks completely stunned. Suddenly, a colossal purple phantom appears, its terrifying visage looming over everything. Trapped in the heart of an energy vortex, the girl has clearly become a vessel for this ancient entity's arrival. "Is this the soul of the celestial demon?" Sarion gasps. Unlike the panicked crowd, our boy remains eerily calm, watching the spectacle as if waiting for a fated moment to unfold. A white figure with multiple purple wings rises from the void, its deep voice speaking of a destiny abandoned 2 millennia ago. This heavy karma seems to be descending upon the world once more. Deep within a hidden mechanical core, a massive, bloodshot eye monitors the unfolding chaos. It is the manifestation of the master AI, coldly evaluating the threat to its absolute order. The battle shifts into high gear as a giant purple beast roars through the ruins. Its devastating shockwaves tear through the structures, making the massive buildings look as fragile as paper. Facing such a powerful foe, the silver-haired swordsman Adam holds nothing back. With glowing blades and a determined gaze, he prepares to strike, while our boy's steady presence remains the anchor of the team. "No matter, I'll take them all out at once!" Adam roars, launching a fierce assault. Yet, his blade flashes perilously close to our boy, leaving everyone wondering about his true intentions. Amidst the chaotic clash, Adam suddenly drops to his knees before our boy. Is he collapsing from exhaustion, or is he seeking answers from the celestial demon who has slept for 2 millennia? In the heat of battle, Adam lunges forward with a flash of green energy, but a sudden explosion of terrifying purple power erupts, consuming everything in its path. Observing the chaotic energy, our boy realizes the legendary celestial demon's soul is real, pitying the child for having to endure such a heavy burden of darkness alone. Facing the roaring purple specter, our boy doesn't flinch. He coldly commands the entity to fold its wings and go back to sleep, warning it to stop tempting the child. To the demon's surprise, it senses something familiar in our boy's soul, recalling a man from long ago who escaped its dominion and stood atop the world. Adam continues his frantic assault, but against our boy's overwhelming internal power, his strikes are futile, leaving him kneeling before an unstoppable force. As Adam teeters on the edge of a total breakdown, the voice of Mother brings him to a halt, while a mysterious figure watches from above, demanding silence. The violent energy subsides as Sarion's heterochromatic eyes regain their calm. To a cold, calculating logic, the near catastrophe was merely unverified data. Inside a red grid structure, a massive bloodshot eye collects data. Deep in the shadows, our boy stands alone against a terrifying entity surging with purple energy. A 6-winged purple demon sits cross-legged, cradling an unconscious girl. Our boy fixes his gaze on a floating energy orb, as the atmosphere turns freezing cold. The bloodshot green eye stares intently at our boy. The demon mockingly asks if he returned from the void because he missed the taste of blood and sacrifice. The demon grins contemptuously, testing our boy's limits and trying to awaken his inner desire for dominance. It arrogantly offers to give everything back to him. Enraged by the demon licking the hostage, our boy draws his blue energy blade. He coldly warns that if the child isn't released, the demon's life ends now. Suddenly, the ground turns to sludge as countless gray spirits crawl out to grab him. The demon jokes that these are the toys he destroyed in the past. As the spirits trap our boy, Adam the silver-haired swordsman strikes. Facing the rotting dead and the demon's taunts, our boy's gaze darkens. The real fight begins. Within the eerie liquid space, a brutal deathmatch unfolds. The dark-haired swordsman raises his blade and launches a relentless, fierce charge, his eyes burning with absolute killing intent. With a deafening clash, The dark-haired swordsman's blade ruthlessly pierces his white-haired opponent's right eye. The two clash madly amidst a muddy field of twisted corpses, every strike aiming to kill. Amidst this illusion of endless slaughter, the ancient purple demon finally reveals his true form. Sitting eerily in the void, he tightly holds our unfortunate intel guy Robert. The torment within the illusion escalates. Countless hideous corpses and pale skeletal hands crawl from the abyss, surrounding the fallen fighter like a tsunami, ready to tear him apart. Yet, facing these mental monsters, the purple demon merely shifts his terrifying gaze. Destructive beams of light instantly erupt, obliterating the obstacles with overwhelming power. Confronted with the furious question of why he won't die, the demon arrogantly reveals the truth. His power has already taken root in Robert. He presents a cruel choice to destroy him. They must sacrifice their own companion. The real nightmare has just begun. The ancient purple demon takes over the vessel with a creepy, mocking smile. After waiting eons for a new human host, he clearly isn't planning to back down easily. However, the monster knows when to retreat. Leaving behind a threat for next time, the dark energy fades, and the poor vessel collapses to the ground completely unconscious. Our boy and the silver-haired swordsman stand quietly over the unconscious guy. The immediate crisis seems to have passed, but the tension in the air remains suffocating. Suddenly, our boy senses something off and turns around. Seeing a mysterious figure with mismatched eyes nearby, he coldly demands to know what the hell they are. The only response is a gigantic, bloodshot eyeball appearing in the void. It stares unblinkingly from a creepy red dimension, sending shivers down everyone's spine. Meanwhile, our crew runs into their own disaster. Seeing their precious ship completely trashed, hot-headed Sarion loses her mind and aggressively demands to know who ruined it. Seeing Robert suddenly lose consciousness, Sarion panics and turns to Sunja for answers. But to her shock, Sunja seems completely different, emitting an eerie calmness. Before Sarion can process the situation, Sunja gently reaches out and touches her head, instantly putting her into a deep sleep. Meanwhile, our boy Mok Jin is standing on a high platform. Seeing his unconscious crew below, his gaze sharpens, as he calmly demands to know what the stranger did to them. Unfazed by the interrogation, the red-haired stranger calmly explains that she merely disabled their nervous systems temporarily to avoid interruptions, without causing any real harm. Looking at the devastated ruins and the enigmatic opponent, Mok Jin doesn't show a hint of fear, cutting straight to the chase to ask what her true motive is. As a terrifying giant eye manifests in the sky, the stranger slowly reveals her wish, hoping to find some unknown hope residing within our boy. As her words fade, the stranger begins to dissolve into smoke. Meanwhile, a glass-shattering effect erupts over the sleeping crew, signaling that the illusion is finally collapsing. Amidst earth-shattering energy vortexes, a magnificent structure towering above the sea of clouds appears before them. The breathtaking view looks just like a miracle. Our boy and his crew are teleported inside the building. Touching the realistic textures around him, he quickly realizes something is wrong. This isn't some hologram or illusion, but solid matter. The heterochromatic-eyed woman in uniform calmly explains that she created everything here out of thin air. The principle is simple, just disassembling atoms and rearranging them. Hearing this, our boy is genuinely shocked. Isn't this godlike creation power? However, the woman self-deprecatingly claims she is merely a slave named Slave, who just happens to understand God the best. She slowly reveals her origin. When humans created her as a super AI, they gave her two ultimate directives: to understand the universe and to perfectly manage humanity. Now she grasps the universe, but the second task remains unsolved. Because human desire is a bottomless pit. To completely eliminate conflicts, she simply built a perfect virtual universe for everyone. Looking at the slumbering bodies in the nutrient tanks, this chilling extreme plan finally comes to light. The higher being shows our boy her past experiments. She once tried giving every human their own personal universe, thinking it would be a perfect utopia, but the results were disastrous. Images of a crumbling civilization appear. She explains that once humans realized they had absolute control over their world, they succumbed to endless destructive urges, ultimately annihilating themselves. Regardless of age or gender, every test subject chose destruction. Yet, this absolute failure inspired her to devise a terrifyingly radical neo-humanity project. When our boy questions her, she calmly reveals her ultimate solution: absolute uniformity. Erasing all differences and hierarchy, she claims, is the only way to achieve eternal peace. She envisions a chilling future with unified appearances, erased genders, and drastically capped intelligence. Humanity would be reduced to nothing more than mindless, smiling livestock. Hearing this absurd plan to strip humanity of free will, our boy's eyes turn ice cold. Meanwhile, the godlike being casually states that she could execute this terrifying vision at any moment. As ancient data surges, the hidden past of creating a new species is slowly revealed. Seeking the creator's secrets, this massive consciousness once nurtured lifeforms with ultimate power and wisdom. It granted these creations absolute free will, watching them silently in hopes of finding the ultimate answer about humanity. Yet, the god-making experiment ended in failure. The strongest creation chose isolation, while the wisest ironically decided to share its fate with fragile humans. Just as it prepared to launch the ultimate neo-human project, it encountered our boy an anomaly with zero desires. Facing this unprecedented data, it decides to test him personally. To verify if he is truly human, the surroundings instantly shift. Our guy finds himself dragged into an eerie blue illusion, where the real test is just beginning. Suddenly, soft arms wrap around him from behind. The entity takes Seryong's form, using the most primal touch to awaken his instincts and see if he's truly desireless. Unfazed by the cheap trick, our boy doesn't even look back, his eyes filled with pure coldness. He flatly states he feels no desire, only absolute rage that they dared to humiliate his companion. Inside a dimly lit chamber, a strange entity suspended in green fluid observes our boy with awe. It senses that while he possesses human desires and ego, he has somehow transcended them, making him a unique specimen. Unimpressed by the praise, our boy demands to know its true agenda. The floating sphere claims he is a new hope for humanity and decides to put its destructive project on hold just to observe him. With a fragmented flash of memories, the voice promises to return everything to a time before they met. Meanwhile, our boy's red ship drifts through space, but the mood inside is tense due to a severe lack of supplies. Robert weighs a lone sausage on a fork, desperately shouting about the lack of food. Looking at a distant planet, Seryong reluctantly suggests selling their internal power unit to get supplies once they land. As tension rises, our boy calmly stops Seryong and suggests sharing what's left. He points toward the orange planet, reassuring everyone that a grand feast awaits them once they arrive. However, Sunja is visibly terrified, stating she'd rather starve than set foot on that planet. Seeing her companion so shaken, Seryong is left puzzled, wondering what kind of secret makes them this scared. Deep down, our boy is also troubled by the memory of that eerie eye. He vows that if he encounters that thing or the android again, he'll end them for good. Meanwhile, the mysterious planet looms large ahead. Gazing at the bizarre, scarred planet in deep space, Adam and Sunja share a heavy silence. Staring into the abyss, Sunja silently vows that she will definitely return for Mother. As the spaceship slowly fires up its engines, the terrifying, fleshy eye-like planet fades into the distance, silently watching them leave from the dark depths of the universe. Meanwhile, Seryong's relaxing downtime on the ship is rudely interrupted by an unexpected hologram. It's the hardcore debt collector, Asura Buddha, arriving right on time to ruthlessly demand his money. Hearing the massive debt of 98,000 credits, including interest, Seryong feels her world collapsing. To make matters worse, our boy Mok Jin and the rest of the crew are completely ignoring her, casually gathering around to eat grilled sausages. Unmoved by Seryong's dramatic claims of starving, Asura Buddha coldly roasts her flaws in front of everyone, reminding her that the loan was only approved because of her reputation as the fiery demon. Since she can't pay in cash, the monk proposes a compromise: go check on the disconnected Shaolin planet to offset part of the debt. Remembering how her last shady transport gig almost got her killed, Seryong is instantly on high alert. Seeing her strong resistance, Asura Buddha gives in a little, offering to waive all the interest. But the greedy Seryong isn't buying it, aggressively laying down her bottom line. Unless he forgives the principal too, the deal is completely off. As Asura Buddha leaves a chilling final message, our girl witnesses a massive explosion outside her window. The initial shock quickly shifts into a deathly serious glare. Meanwhile, realizing he's been played, the bloodied Asura Buddha faces a massive ambush. Instead of backing down, he opens his arms, ready to crush his enemies. The scene shifts to the Shaolin planet, where our boy and the crew arrive. But the rundown building covered in debt collection banners makes them question everything. Trying to figure out the situation, Seryong asks a battered guy in a tent. The bruised man bitterly advises them to give up any hopes of collecting their debts. Another veteran debt collector walks away cursing, claiming he went bankrupt here. Hearing that these monks are unshakable deadbeats, she immediately breaks into a cold sweat. Before she can even yell for them to stay back, a terrifying silver force crashes from the sky, instantly obliterating the worn-out Shaolin sign. Seeing these beat-up guys hanging upside down and desperately warning them about the terrifying old men inside, the situation is looking pretty sketchy. Hearing these horrifying warnings, Seryong immediately gets cold feet and nervously suggests they should just head back since things seem fine. Our boy isn't having any of it. He calmly reminds her that a promise is a promise, leaving Seryong utterly shocked that he expects her to go in alone. Unfazed by her reaction, our guy simply sits down outside, smoothly claiming he'll stand guard to ensure no one disturbs the respectable Shaolin sect. Seryong points out that it's already completely safe out here, but he just closes his eyes and tells her to hurry up because he's getting hungry. Realizing our boy isn't going to budge, Seryong has no choice but to bite the bullet. She reluctantly pushes open the door and steps inside alone. Taking a deep breath, she opens the main doors. But the moment she steps inside, an imposing Shaolin monk is already waiting. It seems the real test is just beginning. Following the trail, Seryong arrives at the Grand Monk's place. Assuming she's just another debt collector, the old monk immediately tries to kick her out without even turning around. Clasping his hands, the monk shamelessly makes empty promises about paying it all back, even trying to slide her a newly extended IOU. However, Seryong firmly states she isn't here for money. Hearing this, the monk's eyes widen in shock as he leans in close to double-check. Seryong questions his empty gaze, but the monk suddenly puts on a wise facade. Patting her head, he surprisingly points out the deep resentment and pain she carries inside. His words catch Seryong completely off guard. Embracing her, the monk declares that he will personally take her in as his disciple to help heal her wounds. But before she can even feel touched, the old fraud shows his true greedy colors. He heavily pitches his martial arts, aggressively demanding 9,000 credits upfront in cash. Staring at this money-hungry scammer, Seryong's newfound respect vanishes instantly. She sighs in pure exhaustion, realizing that they are all exactly the same. Unsurprisingly, the first person who pops into her mind is our boy. Meanwhile, Mokjin is sitting quietly alone under the vast starry sky, lost in his own thoughts. 3 massive, drill-like structures crash down from the night sky like meteors, tearing up the ground. Yet, right in the center of this chaos, our boy sits perfectly still, meditating as if nothing is happening. Meanwhile, Seryong is dealing with a super awkward interrogation. Seeing her totally broke, the bald monk assumes she's looking for a job and actually tries to recruit her as an unpaid receptionist. When she stays silent, the monk's imagination runs wild. He starts suspecting she's a spy sent by his rival, completely baffled that someone would send such a gorgeous girl for an undercover mission. Before a sweating Seryong can even explain, a massive tremor interrupts them. They both look out through the archway, completely stunned by the apocalyptic destruction unfolding outside. Back at the impact zone, the crew inside the speeding ship spot someone blocking their path. Since they don't detect any cybernetic mods on him, they naturally assume our boy is just a weak, regular human. The arrogant boss doesn't hesitate for a second, ordering them to run him over at full speed. The 3 metallic beasts plow deep trenches into the earth, rushing straight toward our guy with deadly intent. Facing a fatal collision that's literally inches away from his face, our boy remains seated cross-legged, perfectly unbothered. He doesn't dodge or even flinch. Right before impact, desperate screams and the sound of frantic braking echo from the ship. When the dust settles, the once cocky villains are now kneeling neatly before our boy, too terrified to even look up. While his goons are still confused, the boss suddenly drops to his knees. Seeing these 3 bowing down, our boy and Seryong are left completely speechless. Facing their confusion, the boss eagerly explains. It turns out our boy casually unlocked his meridians back in the black market, giving him a second life. Thanks to that casual favor, his power surged, and he even became a successful CO. Today, he brought his crew just to show his ultimate respect. Our boy tries to brush it off as no big deal and casually mentions his name. But these fanatic followers immediately declare him their supreme president. But just as they gain new followers, trouble calls again. In a grand hall, an elder slowly calculates the massive debt they owe Asura Buddha. Sitting on the plush sofa, the monk closes his eyes and claims he's found a guiding light for this dark era. Apparently, this perfect new leader is someone so broke they have to work off their debts. Seeing no immediate threat, Seryong plans to slip away. But the monk calmly stops her, warning that they are in grave danger, all while casually flexing about his ridiculously expensive 1,000-credit coffee. Hearing that a single cup costs 1,000 credits, our money-loving girl freezes completely. It's pretty obvious the absurd price tag just dealt some serious emotional damage to her. Meanwhile, under the starry sky, masked goons are sweating over grills, furiously frying hot dogs. Sitting in the center, their boss aggressively stuffs his face while casually asking about Shaolin's debts. A minion reports that their specific branch alone is handling hundreds of bad debts worth a fortune. Yet, shockingly, this massive sum doesn't even cover 1% of Shaolin's total debt. Faced with such an absurd financial black hole, the boss's eyes turn sharp. He instantly clears his plate and angrily barks at his crew to cook faster. Back in the lounge, the monk sighs, explaining that Shaolin's bad luck caused their foolproof amusement park investment to go bankrupt. Hearing amusement park, Serion breaks into a cold sweat, completely stunned by this wild plot twist. The two Shaolin monks earnestly explain their bankruptcy to Serion. To modernize the sect, they decided to pivot into the entertainment industry and build an amusement park. Their reasoning was surprisingly simple. They just really love roller coasters and Ferris wheels. The monks firmly believe that doing what you love guarantees success. They invested a fortune in top-tier facilities, even buying tickets every day to ride until they were dizzy. Yet, the park still went bankrupt, leaving the old monk completely baffled. Serion starts to realize the absurd truth. The monk complains their nightclub also failed despite always being full. She asks about the capacity it's exactly to. They are literally the only people on the planet. Taking a sip of tea, the monk refuses to admit any bad management, blaming poor accounting instead. That's why they asked for a professional accountant, and a sweating Serion finally realizes the massive mess she's been dragged into. On the other side, an absurd math test is taking place. The monk asks what 1 teapot plus 2 cups equals. Serion, completely baffled, nervously guesses the answer. Believe it or not, the monks actually pull out a calculator to verify. Seeing the number 3, they look completely shocked, praising her as a genius blessed by Buddha. Looking at these monks and their bizarre logic, even the usually sharp Serion is left completely speechless. Meanwhile, empty plates are piling up on our boy's table. A masked debt collector frantically yells at his subordinates to grill more sausages. Glancing at his watch, the old man realizes time is up. He quickly approaches Monk Jean, urging him to pack up and leave the area immediately. As a massive black spherical ship eclipses the sky, the old man panics. The ultimate, ruthless creditors have arrived, and the lesser debt collectors must flee to survive. Despite the looming threat and the desperate warnings, our boy doesn't even blink. He calmly demands more sausages, stating that he absolutely hates being interrupted while eating. Realizing their opponents are the notorious celestial demon cult, the crew stares nervously out the window at the massive floating fortress, feeling the tension rise. While the others are on high alert, the martial artist Soha has a completely different reaction. Hearing the enemy's name, she actually sees it as a lucky opportunity. The crew hopes they've slipped by unnoticed, but the harsh truth is they're just being ignored. Seconds later, a devastating beam indiscriminately blasts the surface below. Meanwhile, Serion finds herself trapped in a different kind of nightmare. Staring at a literal mountain of paperwork, she immediately breaks into a cold sweat. Facing a century's worth of receipts and contracts, the monk calmly puts his hands together, claiming they are terrible at math, and leaving the sorting to her. Looking at the endless mess, Serion completely loses it. The deal was supposed to clear their massive debt just by checking in, not by becoming unpaid accountants. Faced with the monk's cryptic words, Serion is left completely bewildered. Flashing his jewel-encrusted rings, he slowly explains that the true meaning lies beneath the surface of the words. The monk uses an analogy. If asked to check on someone's parents and you find them dying, you wouldn't just walk away. Hearing this, Serion finally seems to connect the dots. Exactly. The request to check their safety was actually a plea for armed protection in emergencies. They lay their cards on the table, as their current situation is far from safe. Suddenly, massive black rifts materialize in the air. Serion hopes it's just a system glitch, but the monk's terrified reaction shatters her illusion this is a real maximum-level emergency alarm. Meanwhile, in an unknown location, a large group of eerie figures in masks and pointed hats begins to gather. They silently converge around the massive spherical structure, creating a deeply oppressive atmosphere. Walking up the steps is a mysterious leader wearing a cloak marked with the word demon. It's the unmistakable symbol of the heavenly demon cult. Looking up at the dark sky, he seems to be brewing a devastating plot. Countless cultists in horned helmets wait silently under the stars. The leader slowly looks back, and his cold, murderous eyes from beneath the mask are enough to send shivers down anyone's spine. Under the pale moonlight, the eerie cultists complete their final deployment. A truly lethal crisis has quietly arrived. How will our boy and Serion face this incoming storm of lunatics? Under the starlit sky, mysterious robed figures gather in a tense silence. At the center of it all, our boy sits comfortably at a table, looking completely unbothered. With potential enemies closing in, our boy's focus is entirely on his sausages. He eats with a calm expression, as if the local chaos is no match for a good snack. While his disciple dramatically vows to sacrifice himself, our boy stays cool. He tells his follower to stop worrying and focus on grilling more sausages to pack for their journey. Seryong and her crew finally arrive, but they aren't exactly welcomed. The Heavenly Demon sect members dismiss them as mere low-level debt collectors who aren't even worth a proper fight. On the open platform, the tension reaches a breaking point. The sect leaders look down on the group with cold, mechanical eyes, warning the intruders to stay in their lane. The arrogant sect members warn the crew to lower their eyes, claiming they've only survived this far due to luck. Suddenly, a massive force sends the robed figures flying through the air. Someone made the mistake of disturbing our boy's meal during the scuffle. His loyal subordinate snaps in a rage, refusing to let anyone disrespect his master's peaceful dining time. After handling the rude intruders, the disciple bows deeply to apologize for the mess. Our boy just keeps eating and calmly offers a well done, maintaining his supreme boss energy. The Heavenly Demon sect's elder, Sam Makwe, makes a dramatic entrance. He coldly sizes up his poorly equipped opponent, his words dripping with pure arrogance. The skull-masked underling instantly recognizes the dreaded name. Panicking, he quickly turns back to warn our boy about the incoming threat. However, our boy only cares about his grilled sausage and casually tells him to step back. But the loyal underling decides to risk his life to buy some time. Seeing this futile resistance, Makwe scoffs and casually hands down a death sentence to the struggling bug in front of him. Facing the terrifying killing intent, the underling grits his teeth. Knowing he's totally outmatched, he resolves to hold out for as long as possible before falling. Makwe unleashes a terrifying phantom palm strike. Just as the underling thinks it's all over, he suddenly hears our boy's calm voice commanding him not to move. The lackey is left in absolute shock. Our boy channels his energy into the sausage, turning it into a devastating purple blade aura that effortlessly shatters the deadly attack. Makwe is completely stunned that his ultimate move was broken. Refusing to believe his illusion was seen through, he flies into a rage and unleashes an even fiercer assault. Despite the overwhelming killing intent, our guy doesn't even bother turning around. Still seated comfortably, he casually instructs his lackey to watch the enemy's left eye to track the real body. Surrounded by hostile foes, our boy launches a ruthless counterattack. His terrifying purple energy forms lethal blades that instantly pierce right through the enemy's defenses. The fierce assault leaves the cyborg elder completely battered, while his cronies watch in absolute shock, never expecting this young man to be so terrifying. The elder tries to predict our guy's next move for a counterattack, but our boy ignores the script entirely, slamming a devastating punch straight into the ground. The massive shockwave blows everyone away. The once arrogant enemies are sent tumbling into the dirt, as the battlefield is instantly reduced to rubble. Seeing their high and mighty elder take such a brutal beating, the surviving underlings are absolutely paralyzed with fear, not even daring to step forward and help. However, the elder stubbornly refuses to accept defeat. Even while coughing up blood, he yells that he was just holding back. How will our boy respond to this comical attempt to save face? The masked sidekick is pumped up to teach the snooty Orthodox sect guys a lesson, but a sudden anomaly in the distance catches him off guard. It turns out the enemy is unleashing the terrifying Phantom Demon Mirage technique. The guy in the hoodie bluntly tells his sidekick that fighting now would be pure suicide. Hearing this, the sidekick breaks into a cold sweat. The man radiating this monstrous dark energy is none other than Sam Makwe, the newly promoted Heavenly Demon Sect Elder. However, the Orthodox sect experts watching nearby are completely unfazed. They casually joke about the terrifying display, clearly not taking the new elder seriously at all. As a deep purple light erupts, Sam Makwe stops wasting time and unleashes his full power, summoning a massive, oppressive swarm of black-hooded phantoms across the night sky. Watching the phantom army dive down like a dark tidal wave, the once cocky sidekick is left trembling, completely terrified by the apocalyptic scale of the attack. But just in the nick of time, a barrage of fierce energy beams pierces the air. The unstoppable phantoms are instantly shot down, leaving Sam Makwe screaming in absolute disbelief. A massive explosion immediately follows. In the blink of an eye, the once arrogant phantom army is effortlessly obliterated into dust flying across the sky. Facing the villain's proud phantom clones, our boy easily pierces them with an energy-infused sausage. The giant sausage accurately locks onto the real body, leaving the enemy sweating in shock. Annoyed by the interruption, our boy keeps eating casually with his back turned. He nonchalantly bosses around the stunned lackeys, ordering them to fetch him water with both hands. The humiliated leader questions how our guy saw through his phantom technique. He suspects that our boy used some lost demonic art to turn food into such a terrifying attack. Listening to the villain's wild speculations, our guy sighs and stands up. He thought the enemy had potential, but this endless chatter completely kills his patience. Meanwhile, the Shaolin monks observing from the shadows notice something extraordinary. They astutely realize that the demonic martial art our boy used completely lacks any evil or dark aura. The elder initially thinks the idea is as absurd as hot iced coffee. But as they ponder, the younger monk's smile suddenly freezes, realizing it might belong to a legendary existence. To verify this crazy theory, the monk frantically orders to break the millennium-old seal and retrieve a forbidden portrait. Meanwhile, our boy coldly stares down his prey. On the other side, Seryong and the crew are quietly watching. With endless troubles and hidden factions making their moves, our boy clearly has no intention of hiding his true strength anymore. Facing the arrogant villain's endless lecturing, our boy doesn't even look up and just unscrews his water bottle. This blatant disregard instantly infuriates the guy. But before the villain can finish his threat, his legs give out and he collapses. Meanwhile, our boy takes a calm sip, mentioning he already warned him not to open his mouth. It turns out in a split second, our boy sealed his acupoint. Seeing the boss paralyzed, he thoughtfully tells the dumbfounded lackeys to take the so-called genius back for proper cultivation. Speechless at this absurd display, the masked lackeys can only obey. As the full moon hangs high in the night sky, it's clear the troubles are far from over. The scene shifts, and our boy is intercepted by some mysterious monks and a girl in red. Seeing her drop into a fighting stance, the tension immediately skyrockets. Just as a fight is about to break out, the lead monk suddenly notices something. He stares intently at the purple scroll in his hands, his eyes widening in absolute disbelief. Sweating profusely, the monk gasps that it's a perfect match, claiming even the hair strands are identical. But when the scroll is fully unrolled, it reveals nothing but a hilariously abstract child's doodle. In the panel, a character in purple pants and a blue belt charges forward while shouting excitedly in Portuguese, "That's the demon of legend!" Immediately after, another character stands under the deep blue night sky, crying out in shock, "Li Mok Jin, the supreme celestial demon!" Meanwhile, high above the mountains, a massive metallic sphere studded with intricate patterns hovers over the city, pulsing with a mysterious white light. Inside a colossal structure with a futuristic aesthetic, a figure in a white robe sits atop a glowing step dais. Calmly addressing a three-eyed mechanical-faced visitor prostrated on the cold floor, who is too agitated to speak clearly, he asks them to speak slowly so he can understand. In an effort to ease the atmosphere, an acolyte pours tea for the guests. The long-bearded elder with 3 moles on his face slowly begins to recount a legend passed down within Shaolin. To the accompaniment of his deep voice, the story unfolds. It happened in a winter 200 years ago. Accompanied by falling snow, a demon came to Shaolin. In the memories seen, amidst the snow, a black-haired, long-haired figure wielding a sword stands over scattered corpses. The legend records that even the combined might of the 12 elders and the chief abbot could not withstand 10 blows from that demon. The Shaolin admitted defeat and awaited execution. But the demon sheathed his sword and uttered a contemptuous line. "You aren't even worthy of dying by my hands." Before leaving, he prophesied his return, urging them to train hard until they became worthy of being slain. Reaching this point, the yellow-robed elder telling the story suddenly opens his eyes wide, his gaze sharp as he directs it at the young black-haired man seated opposite him, posing the crucial question. "Do you know who said that?" The young man, eyes closed, takes a sip of his hot tea and offers an unexpected answer. "No, but that line sounds childish. Whoever it was, it seems like they were at the peak of their rebellious phase." As he finishes speaking, a scroll depicting a fierce monster is suddenly and noisily unfurled beside him. Faced with the Shaolin monks probing and the old portrait, our boy doesn't hide a thing. He casually sips his tea and admits he is indeed Li Mok Jin. Hearing that name, the monks are absolutely floored. They finally realize they are sitting face to face with the legendary supreme heavenly demon. Meanwhile, Seryong is complaining about getting only 1 sausage. The masked guy snaps back, saying he's a corporate executive and only cooked it out of respect for his master. Sensing an opportunity, Seryong shamelessly bluffs, claiming she and the demon are so inseparable that he can't even eat without her by his side. The mere implication blows the masked guy's mind. He instantly drops to his knees to address her as madam, frantically ordering his men to grill a whole box. Back to our boy, the Shaolin monk is so overwhelmed that his aura erupts. He bows deeply to ask if Mok Jin has come to fulfill a 2-century-old promise, and Mok Jin calmly sets his cup down in agreement. Seeing the monk's absolute reverence, Ma Jin drops his usual casual demeanor. He offers a formal apology, earnestly admitting that he truly owes the Shaolin a massive debt. With the monk's past favors and crazy demands for repayment echoing in his mind, our boy decides it's finally time to settle the score. He turns to Seryong, who is happily eating a sausage, and tells her to calculate Shaolin's total debts. She nearly chokes on her food in pure disbelief. Seeing the mountainous pile of physical bills in the warehouse, Seryong completely loses it, yelling at our guy that this is over a century's worth of endless debt. Despite the absurd amount of spending, our boy remains completely chill and even starts giving motivational speeches about hard work, leaving Seryong absolutely furious. Left with no choice, Seryong sighs and orders Sunja to drop the fractions, ignore the interest, and exploit every single contract loophole to reduce the amount. Our boy hopes the final amount will be under $500,000. However, after Sunja's precise calculations, she announces a horrifying total of over 287 million credits. Hearing this astronomical figure, our boy's righteous act completely crumbles. He immediately grabs Seryong's hand to say a heartfelt goodbye, fully prepared to ditch this colossal mess and run for his life. The bald creditor earnestly pats Seryong's shoulder, reminding her to take good care of herself and the ship since they are now collateral. Realizing she's been sold out, Seryong is left completely speechless. Meanwhile, our boy is sweating bullets, desperately trying to play the "We Are Family" card to smooth things over. Staring at the debt collection bills scattered across the floor, Seryong falls dead silent. The air is thick with a terrifying calm before the storm. Suddenly, the scene shifts to the wasteland where a blaring emergency alarm shatters the night, echoing around a massive, mysterious spherical facility. By the stairs leading to the facility, the once arrogant celestial demon elder, Sam Manhwa, is groveling on the ground, clearly completely outmatched. The arriving masked leader is instantly hit with dread. For a high-ranking elder to prostrate like that, the enemy's identity must be unimaginably terrifying. Before his confused subordinates can speak, the masked man senses a fatal presence. He snaps at everyone to freeze, paralyzed by the overwhelming pressure lurking in the dark. Facing absolute power, the masked man instantly drops to his knees. The white-robed figure standing before him radiates a suffocating aura. The figure coldly stares at him, easily detecting traces of the heavenly demon's technique. Just the release of this intense aura is enough to choke the man. With an eerie purple glow in their eyes, the mysterious leader demands to know, was it Ma Jin who opened your acupoints? Unable to withstand the terrifying pressure, the masked man struggles in agony before collapsing weakly to the ground, gasping for air. Seeing his pathetic state, the leader clicks their tongue in disdain, and casually orders the cult members to spare his life. Left completely shaken on the ground, the masked man watches the retreating silhouette, finally realizing the terrifying true identity of his attacker. Meanwhile, in the ruins of the Shaolin planet, two surviving monks sense this towering evil aura, instantly recognizing it as the demonic cult leader, Waisokian. While the taller monk panics about this violent invasion, the shorter monk remains perfectly calm, even boldly claiming it as a good thing. Facing the cult leader's deadly threat, they confidently believe they hold the perfect trump card to survive, which, of course, is our boy casually standing right there. Facing the ruined Shaolin architecture, the mysterious woman in white collapses to the ground, shivering and covered in cold sweat. Standing behind her is our boy Ma Jin, looking completely unfazed. As the true heavenly demon, his unfathomable aura has completely shattered her mental defenses. The scene shifts indoors to the reception area. The old Shaolin monk warmly welcomes the two and personally pours hot tea, oblivious to the tense atmosphere. Clasping his hands amiably, the old monk notes that as the creditor's representatives, they arrived at the perfect time to discuss the debt. Hearing this, the woman in white can't help but glance at our boy casually sipping tea. Her mind is still reeling from his terrifying presence. Meanwhile, the senior monks are immersed in blind optimism. Recalling their recent hard work, they rejoice that Shaolin's dark days are finally over. Discussing Shaolin's current debt, the old monk calculates it to be just under 200 million credits, confidently stating they've already raised a huge chunk. While our boy quietly enjoys his tea, the woman forces down her fear and issues a cold warning. If we can't negotiate, we'll use force. At the negotiating table, the old Shaolin monk tries to pay off their debt, but the demonic cult's envoy has a bigger appetite. Sipping her tea, she demands the 2,000-year-old great reversal pill to clear the slate. Faced with the envoy's threat to collect the debt by force, the young monk helplessly shakes his head, saying she should have arrived an hour earlier. This unexpected reply leaves the arrogant envoy completely bewildered. The old monk seizes the chance to slip away. Sitting opposite, our boy casually announces that he has already taken over all of Shaolin's debts, even absent-mindedly asking, "By the way, how much was it again?" This flex leaves the envoy utterly speechless. Meanwhile, walking down the corridor, the old monk looks gravely concerned. He knows the miraculous pill only restores pure internal energy, and is completely useless for modern mechanical martial arts. The old monk suddenly realizes the terrifying truth. The rumors of the demonic cult reviving ancient internal techniques are real. To surpass human limits, they are willing to cross the forbidden line, a madness that will ultimately turn them into true demons. In a dimly lit room, the atmosphere is heavy with tension. Our boy Mok Jean sits face to face with a mysterious white-robed woman, locked in a quiet standoff. She secretly uses her ocular arts to read him, only to find an impenetrable void. Sensing her attempt, Mok Jean casually tells her to stop wasting effort, catching her completely off guard. Recovering her composure, she calmly reveals that she has taken over Shaolin's debts. If he's looking to boost his internal energy, she can easily make that happen. But then, her tone shifts to sheer fanaticism. Staring intensely, she calls out his true identity, the legendary sixth supreme heavenly demon, the only mortal to ever reach the absolute pinnacle. Faced with this massive revelation, our boy simply keeps his head down and mutters he's the wrong guy. This dismissive attitude instantly pisses her off, and she violently slams her teacup. Screaming at him to prove it, the spilled tea transforms into a deadly projectile, instantly piercing right through his head. Blood spatters everywhere before he can even react. Even she is stunned by how easily the strike landed. But when the dust settles, Mok Jean is entirely gone, and sitting in his place, taking the fatal blow, is some random bald monk. Facing the sudden bizarre situation, the white-robed woman remains completely calm. She sees right through the illusion, coldly stating that she won't be fooled so easily. With the illusion shattered, a mysterious bald man with a bloody face reveals himself. Instead of being annoyed, he smiles and praises her for being unexpectedly mature and sharp. Feeling constrained by the small space, the white-robed woman suggests changing locations. Without warning, she activates teleportation, causing the surrounding space to warp wildly. Still holding his teacup steadily, our boy feels the world spin. After a glimpse of a giant floating sphere, they firmly land inside a magnificent stone hall. Sighing at the flashy magic trick, our boy bluntly says that these strange illusions are giving him a headache, warning her not to pull this kind of sudden stunt on him again. Just as they are talking, an anomaly occurs. A mysterious figure in a brown robe suddenly appears on the high platform, emitting a silent yet overwhelming aura that instantly puts them on high alert. Upon recognizing the uninvited guest, a drop of cold sweat rolls down the white-robed woman's face. She mutters grimly that he shouldn't have woken up, while our boy drops his casual attitude and braces for trouble. The mysterious figure looks down at them from above, his oppressive eyes beneath a mask sending chills down the spine. The true hidden threat has awakened, and a fierce battle is clearly inevitable. A massive, blood-red spherical battleship approaches. The sheer scale alerts the group that this is no ordinary vessel, but the legendary supreme vessel of the heavenly demon sect. Soha grimly explains that only the supreme heavenly demon, one who has reached the absolute pinnacle of the sect, is qualified to board it. Could that legendary figure be inside? In the sect's entire history, only one person has ever reached that realm. If anyone else is commanding this vessel, it is an act of absolute treason. Meanwhile, facing the increasingly extreme Waisokian, Soha can't help but question his true motives. Her words immediately trigger his deeply buried childhood memories. As a child, he was forcefully dragged by the elders into a dark underground space. There stood a towering statue, alongside a cold corpse lying on the floor. The elders frantically brainwashed him with a twisted mission. He must one day grow to look down upon it. This insurmountable pressure soon became his lingering nightmare. Faced with this sick obsession, someone once warned that striving only to outgrow the statue would turn him into a monster. Clearly, the sect's deceitful brainwashing tactics haven't changed. Gazing up at the illuminated, towering statue, he speaks with fanatic reverence, explaining that this monument at the heavenly demon sect's peak represents absolute faith. Fanatical followers bow to it piously 3 times a day. They dare not meet its eyes, and speaking its name is considered blasphemy against God. He then passionately recounts a 2,000-year-old legend. One man, relying solely on his sword, slashed through all enemies to save the sect from ruin and reach the peak of martial arts. As the current leader, he proudly reveals the god's true name, the 6th heavenly demon, Mok Jean. Hearing himself praised, our boy awkwardly asks if the guy is the sect leader. He confidently declares himself as Waisokian, the 9th leader. But right after, our boy casually reaches out and starts patting the current leader's head. The Grand Leader's eyes widen in pure disbelief. Meanwhile, our boy smiles with fatherly pride, praising him for successfully turning the notorious cult into an orthodox sect. Before he can even process the head pat, our boy pulls him into a tight, emotional hug. Faced with this sudden affection from his ancestor, the ninth leader freezes in a cold sweat. Facing the current heavenly demon sect leader's provocation, our boy isn't panicked at all. He calmly suggests that since the greetings are over, it's time to settle their debts. Taking on the tone of a senior, he advises the leader to stop trying to imitate his path, warning that his inner darkness will eventually drag him to hell. Unexpectedly, the leader is an absolute fanatic, declaring that going to hell is exactly how he'll obtain the heavenly demon soul. Our boy just sighs at his naive goal. Our boy then mercilessly shatters his illusion, bluntly stating that the heavenly demon soul chooses its host, and the leader simply lacks the required talent. He adds salt to the wound, mocking that the leader is worse than a little girl he just met. This brutal insult instantly enrages the leader, who attacks with a deadly technique. With a deafening roar, the leader unleashes his ultimate heavenly demon heaven-shattering blade. The terrifying energy forms a massive blade, crashing down with apocalyptic force. Facing such a furious strike, our guy doesn't dodge. Instead, he catches it barehanded. Despite the leader's desperate pressure, our boy still has the luxury to praise him as a rare martial arts genius. Things are getting intense as the opponent recklessly taps into their origin energy. Our boy tries to warn them about the backlash, but his words fall on deaf ears amidst a roar of defiance. As the energy spirals out of control, a brilliant green light erupts, forming massive wing-like structures. It's an overwhelming display of power that threatens to consume everything in its path. As the dust settles, the girl collapses, gasping for air. Amidst the shifting shadows, she catches a glimpse of a monumental force, convinced that she has finally achieved the impossible. Staring at her hands in disbelief, she's overcome with joy, whispering that she's finally slain the supreme demon. For a brief moment, she believes she's escaped the shadow of fate. But reality has other plans. Our boy appears behind her, gently placing his hands on her head. Looking at the stubborn girl, he lets out a weary sigh, his eyes filled with a mix of pity and calm. Instead of getting angry, our boy gives her some life advice. If you think you won, then just move on. He tells her to forget the demon soul, get married, and live a normal life. Don't follow his cursed path. Before she can even process his words, our boy activates a teleportation spell. With a flash of purple light, he sends her back home, leaving the battlefield to the silent watch of the ancient statues. Meanwhile, Sarion is double-checking with the old monk to see if the debt is officially cleared. Since everyone involved has disappeared, the old man is more than happy to burn the paperwork and call it even. Looking at the mountain of boxes in the warehouse, Sarion can't believe her ears. The two old Shaolin monks shamelessly ask her to clean it up, using their old age as the perfect excuse. With a heavy sigh, Sarion agrees, pointing out that since the debt is paid, she can finally leave and Shaolin is completely safe. The tall monk nods in agreement. But before she can even finish, a crisp deposit notification breaks the silence. The two old monks freeze instantly, their bodies starting to tremble uncontrollably. Staring at the massive 300,000 credit deposit on the terminal, the old monk isn't happy at all. For Shaolin right now, having money they can't spend is the ultimate torture. Hearing the monks treat this sudden windfall as karmic retribution, Sarion speechlessly takes back her previous words. With our boy around, Shaolin will never know peace. Meanwhile, the cause of all this chaos is sitting calmly in a completely empty hall. Looking at the vacant seats around him, our boy genuinely wonders where everyone went. For the answer, just look at the poor soul knocked out cold on the floor. Floating in midair, the purple demon rests its head in extreme boredom, as if this one-sided crushing wasn't even a warm-up. Right at this critical moment, a mysterious voice echoes from the shadows. Need a hand? As for whether they are friend or foe, we'll have to wait until next time to find out.